built a tower made of paper and lies, stacked it high with the liar's disguise. But the wind's picking up, gonna blow it all down. A reckoning's coming to this hollow town. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. They sold our steel, they stole our land, turned the worker into a begging hand. But the wheels are turning, the fire's alive. We're taking back what's rightfully mine. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Our work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do.
Hey,
Oh,
What's
hey,
up,
Rich,
everybody?
how you doing?
hey,
I
how
didn't
you
see
doing?
you.
What are you doing here?
I didn't see you there.
I had to talk to a guy. Yeah. What's up, everybody?
How you doing, everybody? Welcome back
was-
to another
how was your
Friday
week?
evening.
How was your week, Dr. J?
Hey, better than last week. That's all you can ask, right?
What's up, Streaky? What's up, Ludwig? Hey, Chris, what's going on, man? Anglo, good to see you. Yo, bruv. What's up, bruv? I didn't realize you were here already. That's why I just texted you. Let's see who else is here. Hey, Pam, how you doing? Good to see you. So, we got a big show tonight. God, it's like there's always a fire hose of news every single week. Let me see.
It never stops, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't. What the hell did I just open up? Okay. Alrighty then. Let's go over some stuff. Stick around because we got a Jade moment, a Dr. Jade moment of the week coming up today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're gonna put that segment in. Let's see. So, Trump admin. These are just the top stories we're gonna do tonight. There's look how many. There's so many. Always. All right. So, Trump admin targets criminal illegal aliens at courthouses, reversing Biden actually said, oh, you can't go. We'll let them in free. We'll give them Biden goodie bags with a phone, hotel room stays, and you're all going to pay for it. And, you know, my own ICE can't even go into courthouses where they're being charged for really bad crimes and arrest them there to deport them. Can you believe it?
So they don't have to go through any of the due process to get in, but they got to go through all the due process if they leave.
That's what I was saying. If you skip due process coming in, then you don't get due process going out.
Besides that, there's one question.
Yeah.
Are you here legally?
Yeah.
Yes, no, check one box.
I know.
If you're here legally, it's not a problem. If you're not here legally, you may be deported. It's that simple.
Yeah, it just seems that the Dems are always on the 20 and MAGA's always on the 80, right? So border czar Tom Homan warns AOC the tables have turned after she helped illegal aliens evade capture. Yeah, he may charge her. Dem senator tries to force feed testimony to Kash Patel. It doesn't work, so she testifies instead. It's hilarious because he answers her questions, but in other words, she asked the question with preconceived notions, and she thought he would go, "Oh yeah," but if it's not true, he's not going to admit to something, right? So that's a good one. Pothole Pete. America has too many regulations. Enough said. Here you go. Trump announces major trade deal with the UK, which is good, I think. Here we go. Looks like the church didn't learn a damn thing. New Pope bashed MAGA, Trump, and immigration policies, and he venerated St. George Floyd in past tweets. Uh-oh. In fact, I think Francis took him under his wing. He's American. He's from Chicago.
He's a Francis acolyte.
Yeah, he is. 80 years after World War II, U.S. taxpayers fund Europe's authoritarianism. Ain't that something? You know, we started NATO to protect Germany and other countries around, but mostly Germany, from the Soviet Union. And now they're buying all their oil and gas from them. Right? It's like, why have NATO then? Here we go.
And let me get this straight. Europe is involved in Ukraine fighting Russia, but they're buying fuel from Russia that funds their military that's fighting Europe.
Yes. There you go.
Did I miss something?
You got it right. And it makes no sense, but you got it right. Isn't that crazy? Here we go. Here's a good one. New York Attorney General, Big ass Letitia, they called her. She's now under federal investigation. And there's a video where she's like, we know all those charges are bogus. No, they're not. They caught you red-handed. And here's another good one. Trump appointed Jeanine Pirro, Judge Jeanine, to be a top prosecutor in D.C. I love her. I don't know how everybody else feels about her. I love her. She's a no-nonsense. She was a no-nonsense judge, and she's no-nonsense on Fox. But I really like her.
I only saw the story just this afternoon. It was a little too late to get it to you, but did you hear they arrested the New Jersey governor and 2 congressmen?
Is that real?
It's real. They showed video.
They arrested Murphy, or is his name Murphy?
No,
New
Roz
Jersey
something.
New Jersey governor?
Yeah.
Hang on, Phil Murphy. Huh?
No, not Phil Murphy.
Well, that's the New Jersey governor.
Okay, I'll have to get the story straight because I just saw it.
Pam just chimed in. She said, "I saw that too, Dr. Jade." Pam, tell me, was it the New Jersey governor or the AG? Who was it?
Hang on.
Hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, man. Yeah, I know. Jeanine Pirro, man. Oh, she's gonna rock. She's gonna rock DOJ in the town, man. I'm telling you right now. Now, I don't know. I didn't read the story yet. I try not to, so I can show my shocked face.
I'm sorry. The good news. It's New Jersey, but it's the Newark mayor, not the governor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
A Newark mayor and a couple of Congress critters.
You know what? Pritzker has toned his rhetoric down.
You think?
And they're all, and they're all going to go, oh, this is just fascism here. No, it's saying you're held accountable because you broke the law. You got to be held accountable, right?
Well,
That's what it is.
It's fascism if it's happening to you.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's
I think
different.
most of them couldn't even, like, they can't define what a woman is. They can't define what fascism is. Most people can't.
But it's different when we
It's
do
a
it.
left. It's a right wing ideology. It is like heck. It's not right wing at all.
But anyway, I saw that just before I signed in here.
Yep.
And yeah, it was the Newark mayor. Okay. Yes, to New Jersey, not the governor, the mayor of New York.
What's the other one that was arrested?
There was, I think, a couple of Congress critters with him, New Jersey Congress critters.
Really?
And
wow.
they basically tried to break into an ICE facility. They showed up with fire code inspectors, and they said, "We want in here. We're allowed in here. We can enter any building anytime."
Yeah.
And ICE said, "No, you can't come in here."
Right.
It's a leased facility that they've got, and they basically tried to break in, and they ended up with some new jewelry.
Yeah.
For their troubles.
Really nice bracelets with the federal logo on them, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, let's get started here. Let's do the first one. Okay. So this is from Slate. What is that? Trump admin targets criminal illegal aliens at courthouses. And the first ones are the judges. So let's see. President Donald Trump's administration is targeting criminal illegal aliens at courthouses across the country. The move is a major reversal from the warm diarrhea brain Biden era policies that hogtied immigration and customs enforcement, ICE. Among those arrested in the recent courthouse sweeps is Juan Carlos Baez. Baez, no relation to Joan, How did you know that's what I was thinking? Yeah, because it's just popped in. We think alike. Baez has previous convictions for drug trafficking, cocaine, and heroin. Well, that's no reason to kick him out. He was arrested outside a courthouse in Boston. Since Boston has declared itself a sanctuary jurisdiction and does not honor ICE detainers, the Department of Homeland Security said in a press release. 3 of the aliens who were arrested near the courthouse are accused of drunk driving, an offense the Biden administration designated as not serious enough to warrant ICE's attention. But it's serious enough to arrest a citizen and possibly, I mean, depending on how many times, possibly putting the citizen in the tank, right? But it's not serious enough to warrant ICE's detention. Yeah, because we want drunk illegal aliens that don't belong here driving around.
The thing is, it doesn't really matter that they were drunk driving. The ICE doesn't care about the drunk driving. They're just there at just a convenient location to find them.
I think what they're talking about there is the lefties are always fearful that some righteous police officer would actually turn them over to the feds. I think that's because all these blue states, these sanctuary cities and whatnot, they created their own state laws, which are all unconstitutional, by the way. Article 1, Section 8 says so. So they created all these laws in their states that you can't help ICE, which means help them evade ICE, which is against the law. So I think that's what they're saying, that they don't think that a drunk driving offense should have the person turned over to the feds. Ted Cruz, I think I'm going to play a video of him later on Hannity. Ted Cruz nailed it. He said they were the most corrupt and incompetent administration in our history. There is no other that we can look at. And yet those Jacobins on the other side of the aisle, they say the same thing about Trump. It's unbelievable. We have, I would say, pound for pound no, these guys are more hungry than Reagan's administration, but he had a good administration the second time. But these guys are more hungry to get the job done, right, than any other in my lifetime anyway. I don't know any other that was this strong. So Trump has since revoked Biden-era restrictions on ICE arrests. Those restrictions include limits on arrests at so-called sensitive locations like churches and courthouses. Yeah, because they used to run into churches. You can't get me here.
Where are they?
First Amendment. You don't have a First Amendment right. You're an illegal. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, where do you go hide? In Vietnam, okay, and in Vietnam, and this is a shame, is it was a great country with an incredible, long, thousands of years history, and there was a little dust up, as we all know. And we get there,
Those damn
and,
French.
and what's that?
Those damn French.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, well, that's a whole other story. But the point being was this was a war fought politically. And
Yep.
one of the interesting things was that
Hey, what's up, Willie?
you weren't allowed to damage
Jeremiah, what's up? Sorry.
you
Go
weren't
ahead.
allowed to damage
What's up,
the
man? Good to see you.
historic temples.
Yeah, right.
Wait
I know.
till I'm done to greet everybody. Wait till I'm done, then you can greet everybody.
No, I greet them when they come in so they don't run away.
But so what happened? There were all these historic temples,
Right.
and they weren't allowed to use mortars or artillery, so they had to go in there on foot. Well, guess where all the bad guys hid?
Uh-huh.
Hello.
Yep. Oh. Let's see. Yeah. The restrictions were imposed by Biden's DHS, Alejandro Mayorkas, who was impeached on 2 articles, dereliction of duty. I forget the other one, probably something similar.
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him with a number across his chest.
Yeah, and you know what? Trump said that, like, he was such a good DHS secretary that he needed a pardon. Yeah, but I remember when the House managers walked the articles over to the Senate and gave them to Schumer, and Schumer just tore them up and threw them in the trash and said, "These are ridiculous." It's like, wait a minute. It's not ridiculous. The House just went through a constitutional procedure to have this guy impeached. He was indicted. Now you have to do a trial. We do not. The rules barred ICE agents from arresting suspected criminals at courthouses unless they fell into certain high-risk categories. I think every one of them is a high risk. Mayorkas said that courthouse arrests during the first Trump administration had a chilling effect on people involved in criminal cases.
Well, maybe they shouldn't commit crimes.
I mean, who cares? I think it's a chilling effect when you let one of these go and they rob somebody or worse.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe you shouldn't commit the crimes.
I know. Some of the aliens arrested in the DHS's court sweeps have proven stubborn to deport. Carlos Gomez Viadu. Okay.
Viuda.
I don't really
Viuda.
care. An illegal alien from El Salvador was arrested in December 2024. He was charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and with a suspended or revoked license. Of course he was. And violating probation. Why not? It doesn't mean anything, right? His arrest came more than a decade after he was ordered removed to his native country in 2010. An illegal alien from Guatemala, Fernando Lorenzo Raimundo. Well, that sounds like a TV news station. Telemundo was charged with failing to report a deadly traffic accident that killed a man who was crossing the road in his wheelchair. Lorenzo Raimundo entered the U.S. illegally in 2013. Of course he did, and was later arrested and released into the interior of that country again in March 2024 under Biden. Why not?
Sounds like a chapter at a Death Race 2000.
Yep. Trump officials have said courthouse arrests are safer and made all the more necessary by sanctuary policies that tie the hands of ICE. Yeah, because usually the guy is handcuffed, right, when he's being transferred. And so that's when the ICE guys can come in and grab him. Well, we had 2 judges. I'm wondering what happened to those judges so far. They let them evade. They let their illegals evade, and they got arrested. Homan had them arrested. DHS, what's that?
It's going to take some time to put them through the system.
Well, get this. Yeah, that's another thing. Trump sat there, and they all said, he's ridiculous. He's a fascist, right? Because they said, well, they all have the right to a trial? And he goes, do you know that there are millions and millions of them? Are we going to do a trial for every one of them? Do you know how long that would take? He said they have due process. He goes, we take them into one hearing, and then we're going to give them a final deportation order. They're here illegally. They're not refugees. They don't have a right to asylum. Everybody has a right. No, it's not true. Everybody does not. Everybody has a right to file. No, you do not. A lot of people don't know this, that the UN, which is what we all live under, right? The UN has the international law on refugee status, and it says that if you are a refugee, that the first country you come to is where you must apply for asylum. You can't pick the frigging country that you're gonna apply, but they all seem to think that they can because the Democrats told them they can. For most people, that would be either Guatemala or Mexico. Okay, so they should have applied there and there, right? But no, they came all the way up to the United States because we're suckers
Yeah.
for
And
this kind of
as
crap.
far as I know, the only country with which we have a deal, in quotes, deal, the only
Cuba.
country with whom we have a deal regarding illegal aliens is actually Cuba.
Yeah,
And
well, Cuba.
I'm not sure it even exists, but
Yeah, it does. It still
Cubans,
does. With the Cubans, it's if they touch land,
yeah, Cuban
then they're in.
footprints
If
on
they don't,
US
they get sent
soil,
back.
they don't have to go back.
Right, right. If they touch land, so what happens is when they see the federals, when they see the feds show up on the shoreline, when they get close enough, they jump out of the raft. They jump off the raft or bathtub or whatever the hell they're using, and they stand in. And they go, "I'm free," right? And then they immediately take them down to Miami because that's the law, right? Yeah, but yeah, and we had that because of Castro and 90 miles off
Yep.
the coast and all that crap. Yeah, but you know what? I like the Cubans because not that I don't like other Hispanics, but the Cubans are good because they work, they start businesses. You don't hear too many Cubans running around acting like a jackass like the rest of them do, right?
And
Robbing people, gangs, and all. You don't hear
they
that.
can smell communism
Yeah,
a
a mile
mile
away.
away.
Yes, a mile away.
They
can.
can
You're right.
smell, and that's
they
why the
hate it.
Democrats don't like the
Yeah,
Cubans, because
exactly right.
the Cubans know. They say, "Hey, yeah, this smells to me like bad."
Didn't Trump take Miami? I think he did. For the
Miami
first
did, yeah, he did.
for a Republican to take Miami in this day and age, that's pretty darn good. I say,
Yeah,
welcome to all y'all.
he
Welcome
pretty
home.
much swept Florida.
Yeah, I say, welcome home. Yeah. DHS claims to have experienced a 413% increase in assaults on immigration officers. Quote, the ability of law enforcement to make arrests of criminal illegal aliens in courthouses is common sense. Exactly. Well, we don't even need to read the rest of it. We know where it's going, right?
Yep.
But crazy though. It's like you gotta have. They'll go to the ends of the earth to see that they can stay, but they wouldn't even stand for Lake and Riley. How about that? They wouldn't even stand for her. You know, a jackass from Maryland. He goes down to El Salvador to plead to see the MS-13 gang member, right? Kilmar
Abrego Garcia.
Right, goes down to see him, but never even contacted the family of the girl that was murdered. Mother of 5 was murdered by an illegal from El Salvador. Couldn't care less.
It
Unreal.
wasn't Kilmar, but it was in his district, and it was an illegal
Personally,
alien.
I think the way that the DOJ revealed all that info about Garcia, I think that was intentionally done. Because what they did is they did drip, drip, drip of info, because with every piece of info, the Democrats got nuttier. You know how you have kids, and like the one kid, he's in the wrong, but he thinks if I scream louder, mom and dad will believe me because they have to, because I'm really upset, right? Well, that's what the Democrats do when you think about it. They're like children, right? They got to totem pole each other. They got to be on the top, right?
And all they're doing is, you've heard of the Streisand effect.
Oh yeah. Yeah. BS.
So,
Barbara Streisand.
Yeah. All they're doing
is bringing attention to themselves.
Keeping on bringing it back into the news so that people don't forget.
Right.
Yay.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget.
I know. You got to love that. You really got to love that. Let's see the next one.
Yeah.
We're going to, speaking of Tom Homan. Here we go.
Speaking of Florida, you know what we talked about this week?
What's that?
We talked about maybe moving to Florida.
Does that show up? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How about that? All right.
It's at its first grains of thought. Nothing, serious.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I would go South Carolina. Chris is down there. Roger's down there. My old boss, I could pick on him. He's down there. Yeah, a bunch of people. All right. Border czar Tom Homan warns AOC the tables have turned, biatch, after she helped illegal aliens evade capture. Way to go. President Donald Trump's border czar Tom Homan issued a warning to radical Democrat Representative Alexandria Nina Pinto Santa Maria Cortez about her public efforts to help illegal aliens evade deportation. Holman said that the tables have now turned. During an appearance on the Ingram Angle, Holman spoke out against Ocasio-Cortez and her allies. Last week, the leftist lawmaker held a town hall event in Queens where she taunted Holman about her flippant disregard. Let's just watch the video. Where is it? Here it is.
Joining me now is Tom Homan, White House border czar. Tom, it's great to see you. I've got to ask you about the breaking news that we played at the top of the show, replayed in the Angle, the video of this this illegal alien gang and all teens attacking police in Times Square. They're not even trying to hide it. We were told they're part of this group called Los Diablos 42, kind of an offshoot of TDA. What can you tell us?
Well, yeah, I mean, these people are in the country illegally, and the first thing the police commissioner did up there, she's ordered an internal affairs investigation on it. Did someone call ICE? Because we happen to be at the precinct where some of these people are being processed.
Thanks, Lou.
By happenstance, but all of a sudden now there's an internal affairs investigation. Who called ICE? These people are illegal in the country. We just proved to the commissioner, we proved to the city council that wants to lock us out of Rikers Island, that working with Mayor Adams, we just got done 2 weeks ago, indicted 27 members of TDA through a RICO investigation. 21 currently in custody, looking for 6. These are people who are murder for hire, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, gun trafficking. We took 27 TDA off the street. ICE, with the cooperation of NYPD, we showed what our partnership can do, and they're already pulling back now. So the commissioner is more concerned with who called ICE than working with ICE to get these people not off the street, out of the country. And I'd say the city council.
Imagine they're coming out and saying, "Hey, we stopped ICE from grabbing all these illegals that are terrorizing your neighborhoods and your whole community. Vote for us." Think about it.
Hey, we're up there bragging about 27 TDA taking off the street, making New York safer. They sued Mayor Adams to keep us out of Rikers Island. So I'll be going to New York tomorrow. This is just another example of sanctuary cities not cooperating with ICE. And look what happened. NYPD officers are attacked. If you're brazen enough to attack an armed law enforcement officer, you're much more dangerous to an unarmed civilian.
Oh, no, they'll have a knife at your throat in 2 seconds. What's your message to those 3 illegals? I hate the word migrant, by the way. I don't even want to use it. They're illegal aliens. Okay, that's what they are. But the 3 of them who are still on the loose, your message to them tonight?
We're going to get you.
We're coming for them. And these are the type, I want to explain something. These are the type of people that AOC brags while I'm educating people to their constitutional rights. We all know what she's doing. She's educating illegal alien criminals how to invade law enforcement. But now I'm going to do a little education myself.
Because they don't have constitutional rights. Now, we have all these people, including some supposed scholars. Oh, yes, they do. They have rights. No, they don't. They don't have constitutional rights. They're not citizens. They have a right to due process when we boot them the hell out of the country. But that's not a constitutional right.
So,
no, I mean,
you don't
they have human rights. They have human rights, but they don't have
if we're going to live by
rights.
that, sure. And you can thank that Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter for that when he signed the Human Rights Agreement. He signed it before they even filled it in.
What I mean is you can't enslave them. You can't murder them without consequence. They do have a right to not be abused.
Right, but they don't have constitutional rights.
They do not have a constitutional right.
Right. They don't have constitutional rights because they're not citizens. Now, these Jacobins in black robes will tell you that, well, they do, because the Constitution doesn't specifically mention that citizens are the only ones. And it's like, you just want to slap them in the head. Like, dude, where did you go to law school?
What's the name of that document, by the way?
Yeah. Well, the Constitution.
No, say it. What's the name of that document?
What, the Constitution?
Well, you got it partially right. It's the United States Constitution.
Well, yeah. Well, the
you know what that means? It applies to United States. Do you
right.
know what that means? It applies to United States citizens.
Here's the problem. Like, I started talking about this. A lot of people don't know this, but when the UN came out with the Human Rights Agreement, it was a charter, part of the UN, and it was a treaty, okay? And they came out with it, and Jimmy Carter signed it right away because it was called human rights. What could go wrong, right? So part of what they did a lot of bad things there. So part of what they did is they said, okay, so we're going to define someone. They came up with the new word as a national. Now you hear, oh, he's a Hawaiian national, or no, El Salvadoran national. No, he's not. He's an illegal alien in our country. But they define a national as, and it's not just particular to the UN, right? It's anybody that signed on to the treaty, and we did, unfortunately, because Democrats were in charge of everything for a long time. And so what it said was that a person living where they live is a national. So if you're an illegal alien, you live in California, you are a national of the United States. You got that? So you're a national. Okay. So then it goes on, among other things, and it says no member nation of the UN that is in this treaty can say that they can deny a national the right to healthcare, education, and welfare. Now, can you believe this? This is why when, what was it, Prop 187, I think it was, Californians, when the California people had common sense. Don't tell Bobbity I said that. When they had common sense and they passed, they put a ballot measure up that said no more like goodies, no more services and benefits for illegal aliens that are here. And almost before the ink was dry, after the vote passed, a federal judge said unconstitutional. Everybody's like, how the hell can that? Well, because of that Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter. He signed on to the treaty, and the Democrats in the Senate actually passed it. So then he signed the bill. And so now this is why it's hard to kick them out, because and this is why you have to give them benefits, but you don't put them up in a freaking hotel. I mean, think about it. We put these people up in hotels. Like I think it was $56 million with an M dollars a week in New York alone, putting all these illegal migrants into the hotels. Meaning that nobody else, no business people coming to New York, they didn't have hotels to stay at. They had to go outside the city to stay there and then drive in every day, because of that. But at the same time, if you come in legally, they want you to show that you have means, that you can get a job, or you're going to work, or you have family here that'll put you up. Where's the sense in that? And then Trump comes along and says, we're going to do it the way we always did it prior to this era of discontinuity, the Biden administration era. Yeah. And they call him nuts. He's a fascist.
Yeah. I happen to know somebody who immigrated legally to the United States. So
yeah, I think you do. You got a mirror around? You can introduce yourself. Yeah. But the fact is that they treat people coming in legally as if they're suckers, because they're going to give everything to everybody else. Hey, there he is. What's up, Bobby? Good to see you, man. Did I say hi, Linda? How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So let me just finish this up.
You want to answer a question? You want to help us with the travel documents and get you removed? That's a violation of Title 8, United States Code 1253. It is a crime, and we're going to start prosecuting those crimes tomorrow. So if you got a final order and you want to hinder your removal, you want to put roadblocks up and not cooperate, you want to hide, you want to not open the door.
Girl? Good to see you.
Then the agent's going to start prosecuting you criminally. Then after you get out of jail from that prosecution, then we'll deport you. Game's over. Yep. We're going to look for these public safety threats, and we're going to take them off the streets in New York and every other sanctuary city. As a matter of fact, every sanctuary city, we're going to triple the workforce. We're going to flood the zone with officers. If we can't arrest them in the jail, we'll arrest them in the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we'll arrest them at their work site. So we're going to triple work site enforcement operations. We're going to flood the zone. We're going to take these public safety threats off the streets with your help or without your help.
I love
Now, speaking of AOC, Tom, she actually mentioned you in a town hall last week. Watch.
Woman rights violations.
When we first did one of these seminars, Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to DOJ.
Yep.
Because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections. And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Tom, come for me, she said.
I take pleasure. I can live with her mind rent free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst. How do we invade law enforcement? But the tables have now turned. She's educating people how to get prosecuted because you have a final order. It is illegal to not comply with that order. It's a crime to take steps to not comply with ICE removal orders or not comply with ICE actions taken in custody. You can't hinder your own removal that was ordered by the federal judge. I would like AOC to read Title 8, United States Code 1253, because it's starting tomorrow.
Do you anticipate other arrests of other judges across the country who are pulling these shenanigans by sneaking them out the back, Jack?
Yeah, I hate that when they do that.
I think some sanctuary cities, you want to see more judges make a very bad decision. I've said from day one, you cannot support ICE. You can support sanctuary cities all you want. But if you cross that line of impediment, which is a felony, if you cross that line of knowingly harboring, concealing illegal alien from ICE, that's a felony. We're going to ask the DOJ to prosecute. I'm not a prosecutor, but we're certainly going to ask for those prosecutions. You know, the Democrats said forever, no one's above the law.
Yeah.
No one's above the law. But they want a different set of rules for illegal aliens. You said it in your monologue. The whole zero tolerance thing, right? They didn't want families separated when a parent was prosecuted. Kids can't go to jail with parents. But as a cop, when I started my career, I separated U.S. citizen families all the time when a U.S. citizen parent went to jail. U.S. citizen families are separated 1,000 times across this country every day. But they want a different set of rules for the illegal aliens. And as far as the removal of USC children, you're right. We sent 3 children with their mothers who requested their baby children go with them. If we didn't do it, then the story would be ICE is separating families again. Yeah. You can't win with these people.
No, they keep contradicting themselves, but you know, that's just the way their life rolls. Tom, thank you.
Yeah.
That's just who they are.
It is who they are. They'll find any reason to whine, bitch, and gripe. Any reason at all. And they don't understand how bad they look to voters. And that whole, you know, Trump was the disruptor, and that whole, you know, well, I can't tell you what I want to do for you if you elect me, but don't vote for that guy because he hates you. He's a racist. That ain't flying anymore. They're not buying it.
You know, they should.
AOC just wants to date Tom Homan.
What is she just playing hard to get?
No, do you remember when AOC said that the reason why all the Republicans are attacking her is because they just want to date her and she won't? She actually said that.
I remember that.
Project, deflect,
no, honey.
argue. Exactly right.
Yeah, no. Sorry, honey. We don't want to date you. Nobody wants to date you.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that. Oh, what time is it? I think
I know guys that would like hold their hand on a hot stove before dating her.
Yeah, I know. Me too. All right, let's do Kash Patel. Love Kash Patel. All right, here we are. Let's do it. Okay, Daily Wire. Dem senator tries to force feed testimony to Kash Patel. It doesn't work, so she testifies instead. This is great. Let's just watch it. Share it as tab instead. Let's go.
1,000 cases.
Hold on.
Against violent.
Well, that's not my question. We know that you.
Well, you asked if I was weaponizing the FBI, and I am not. I'm giving you the hard, concrete examples of the men and women putting handcuffs on bad people, doing harm to our children and innocent Americans. I do not see weaponization.
You have placed on leave FBI employees responsible for the investigation of January 6th. That sounds political to me.
I have not placed anyone on leave.
That sounds political to her. Can you believe this? On January 6th, one of the Capitol Police murdered Ashley Babbitt, who we're going to get into a story about her later on, but murdered Ashley Babbitt, and they did nothing but promote the guy. Who's being political?
Who has not violated their ethical obligation or their oath to the Constitution.
So if they were investigating January 6th, you believe they were violating an ethical obligation?
Nope. I think the common theme here is you putting words in my mouth, and I'm not going to tolerate it, nor will the men and women of the FBI.
Look at her face. Do you see that? She's like, so now she's going to.
Well, you did place on leave an analyst responsible for investigating Russia's meddling in the 2016 election. Is that political?
Because they didn't meddle.
Legislation? Is that retribution?
No, not if she broke the law or the ethical guidelines. I don't know which case you're talking about, but that's the standard. And we will hold ourselves inwardly accountable, and we will not be strayed from our mission because.
Look at the look on her face. See,
That could
when
stop.
Go ahead.
That could stop a clock.
Well, it could stop bird crap in midair. But the thing is, these Democrats, when they get to talk to somebody from the Trump administration, they are so hoping it's going to be a gotcha. I gotcha. And this whole thing's turning around because Cash ain't putting up with it anymore.
Because people think we are politicizing the Bureau.
Hold that
if you
thought.
want to talk
I gotta
about
go
someone
see
who
why
was
the dog's
attacked by a
barking.
weaponized Bureau, you're looking at him. And now he's the director of the FBI and he's cleaning it up.
I love
Well,
that.
I would just say to everyone who's listening that the FBI needs to be focused on its mission to keep the entire country safe. It should not be weaponized for partisan political gain. Thank you,
We are.
Chairman.
Senator Kennedy.
You got to love that. Cash takes no crap from anyone. How did we lose Dr. Jade? Oh, here she is. We lost you. We lost you for a second.
Okay.
Oh, my God. Bobbity, you're exactly right. That's who I couldn't figure out who the hell she looked like. He said, why does Senator Patty Murray look like the torturer's assistant? He's like, don't even think of it. That was like one of the greatest scenes around. That was awesome. Yeah, she just had that look on her face like, oh my God, this guy's actually talking back. Let's see. Let's cancel that. All right. Should we do the pothole Pete? This one here is just the brazen stupidity of, yeah, no kidding. Pothole Pete. America has too many regulations. Really? There's shamelessness and then political shamelessness. There are a few varieties of politicians. Let me make it bigger. A few varieties of politicians. There are the relatively smart con men, the clueless followers who barely attain midwit status. Oh, and the vanishingly few politicians who believe in things and mostly tell the truth as they see it. The first group amounts to about 10%, the middle about 80%, and if we're lucky, we get about 10% who are there to make America a better place. I think he's right. I think out of all of Congress, there are, out of 535 people, I think there are only 35 people, 35 that really give a damn about the United States and the American people. Just 35. And guess what? They're all Republicans. I don't think a single Democrat gives a damn. Pete Buttigieg definitely fits into that first group, which is basically con men. Adam Schiff and Dan Goldman are in the same category, although, frankly, they are much worse at conning anybody, but the marks who want to believe what they are selling. Buttigieg is hardly as talented as, say, Obama, but he has a seemingly artless charm and wonkiness that appeals to thoughtful centrists who believe he really is a good-hearted man trying to accomplish good things. I think that's the whole gay factor. I think because the guy's gay and he's very open about it, that they go, oh, you know what, you can't be that bad. Yeah, no.
Yeah, yes, he can.
Yeah, it says, yeah, no. Buttigieg is hardly evil, but he is a grifter with a knack for sounding sincere as he relieves you of your cash. Here's one. Let's see. Kyle Martinson. Buttigieg complains about excessive regulations. It is so hard to build and do things in this country. Friendly reminder that Buttigieg spent $42 billion on rural broadband without connecting a single American because of insane regulations like prioritize.
And the fact that it is so hard to build and do things in this country. And I lived this when I was at the Department of Transportation. We got 20,000 infrastructure projects done, but we could have done more if it were easier to complete the things that we start in this country. And we could have done it more efficiently with our dollar. There's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Unbelievable.
Now, I thought that the presence of a beard was toxic masculinity.
Well, yeah, but he's not very masculine. In fact, isn't he the one? Oh, you guys got to see this. Here we go. Hold on.
But he's grown a beard now.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Hold on.
But I thought that's toxic masculinity if you have a beard.
Right. Oh, it is. Let me see. Do I have it?
I forget who called JD Vance out for that, but somebody.
Yeah. All the news did because he had a beard. It's toxic masculinity. It's like, just shut up. That's when we started telling them to just shut up because we don't take their crap anymore.
You know what you need? You need the clip from Kindergarten Cop where
right? Oh yeah,
Arnold Schwarzenegger goes, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!"
He goes, "Shut up!" when he screamed, and they all start crying. You're like, "No, no, no, no!" Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's do.
And if you play it for less than 15 seconds, you don't get a strike.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to play it. I have this one though. Sorry it took so long, but this is it. That's our Pete, and that's their Pete. Those are real photos. They're not doctored. They're real. Our Pete, their Pete.
Okay. A pop quiz.
Sure.
Okay. 1-on-1. Who's going to win? Pop quiz. Think about it. Don't go any, don't rush to judgment here.
All right. So let's do this. Carry the one. I think Hegseth.
I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
Good. I won. I just love that. Isn't that crazy though? I mean, think about that. That is just absolutely out of your mind, crazy town. All right. So, but they don't give you a way to take that out, do they?
See, and what everybody, I don't know how anybody else feels, but the fact is, I don't give two flying Fanny Adams what he does in his spare time.
Right. I don't either.
I don't care who he dates. I don't care who he lives with.
Oh, he's married and all that. Oh, who? You mean Hegseth? Yeah, I don't care. Yeah,
no. I mean, Buttigieg.
Well, he's married. He's married. He's the woman, by the way.
But I don't care.
In the image, yeah.
I don't care who he dates. I don't care who he's married to. I really don't care.
I don't care either.
What I care about is he did a friggin' awful job.
And I care about when he gets up there and starts saying things like roads are racist.
Yeah.
He literally said roads are racist. People went, oh God, he's just so in tune with things.
Yeah, because there was something about this road went under this overpass.
What he was describing was a Democrat president, FDR, had jobs inside the black parts of cities to build bypass highways, and they had pretty good paying jobs. And then when the highways were done being in every city, when the highways were done being built, they ran out of jobs. They had no more jobs. And those highways that they built were so that the white people could drive through those byways to bypass the black neighborhoods to get into the cities where the real jobs were. That's literally true. That's what FDR did. Now, FDR did it because the Dixiecrats said, if you don't do the things we want, we're not going to vote for anything of your New Deal. So he had to. Still, I would have said, screw you. Let the American people decide. But the South at that time was still pretty racist. Well, I should say was still pretty Democrat. Same thing. As Pete said, huh?
Same thing.
Yeah.
You repeat yourself.
So you're saying that I'm redundant, that I repeat myself, that I say the same thing over and over.
Yeah, that's like the department. It's like the Department of Redundancy department.
There you go. As Pete sets himself up for another run for the White House, insert joke here, he has to solve a few problems he faces. The biggest one being that he will be aiming to run in the non-threatening, competent technocrat lane that appeals to a small slice of the Democratic Party, yet his record as transportation secretary is uniquely undistinct. He did nothing. We got 20,000. No, you're not part of we, dude. We heard from that one guy that was interviewed. Was it Benny Johnson? I can't remember who did it, but he basically caught this guy coming out and he said, can you talk to us? He goes, yeah. And he goes, he's never in the building. Pete, he was never in the building. And he said, the only time he comes in is if like a bigwig's in there or there's a ribbon cutting thing. Otherwise, we don't see him. He's never here. He took 4 months off when he first started because he and the hubby adopted a baby. He took paternity leave. I thought
well, they got to
leave.
They got to be able
help
they
your
gotta,
wife was to help your wife when she's on maternity leave, right? You take paternity leave to help her do things because she's all torn up somewhere that we won't get into. And
We're
so,
not talking about that.
yeah. So I mean, think about it. He went on paternity leave.
What's the matter? You begrudge the man taking care of his baby, you bigot?
Yeah, I do. He was the transportation secretary, and he didn't have a baby. He adopted. So he doesn't have a husband at home all day? Yeah, he did.
I don't know if if his husband works. I don't know. But I don't care. He was supposed to be our transportation secretary,
and he
he was
4 months off.
Yeah, he kind of dicked it up pretty bad.
Yeah. Then he took a year. I think it was 4 months again, to go to East Palestine after that train derailment. And his response was, response was, do you know how many derailments go on in the United States every single day? And you're like, oh my God, I just want to punch you. Right.
He got there after Trump got there and handed out water and stuff, and aid supplies. And he gets there, and he gets there and he's all dressed up in this mop gear, which is basically your chemical spill type of stuff.
Well, he came in a suit. He came in a suit at first, and I remember a guy was interviewing. It might have even been no, I thought it was Mark Dice. Somebody was walking along with him, and he was answering questions. And he goes, "Look, I'm trying to think before I get there, like what I'm going to say and all. Do you mind?" And he goes, "Well, yeah, but I got a First Amendment right to ask you questions while you're walking there, trying to think of what to say." It was funny as hell, but that was just unbelievable that he didn't show up, and then he complained and said, "Well, you know how many train derailments go on in the United States every single day?" It's like, wow, dude, you really just said that. He had about as much positive impact as any Secretary of Housing and Urban Development ever has, which is to say not one little bit. Worse, his record is marked by numerous failures, which tarnish the brand quite a bit. He needs an explanation, and even better, will use his failures, as Democrats always do, as proof that you need even more Pete Buttigieg to solve the problems that he has discovered. Well, that's what the Dems always did. They create a problem, right? And then when the news and regular people around the country start recognizing, like, whoa, look at that, we got that problem there, then the Democrats who created the problem step in and go, look, we're going to take care of this because nobody has so far. We're going to jump in. Yeah, well, you're the ones that created it. But see, the press never mentions that. They're the bootlicking sycophants of the Dems.
Name one major issue that the Biden administration solved that wasn't a problem of their causing.
Crickets.
Yeah, there you go. Just about that.
Yeah,
and as far as him saying, do you know how many train derailments we have? That's right
okay.
Up
What's
there.
up, brother? Good to see you, man. How many?
That's right up. That's right up there with Biden's interview with Charlemagne the God. If you don't know whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Ain't black. Yeah, he said other things too. I mean,
which one?
I can't believe that they didn't pull him out for that. Yeah, I can't believe they didn't pull him out for that alone. Because I mean, can you imagine? You know what? Trump should have just, as a joke and a test, on his next interview said, "Well, look, if you can't tell whether you should, vote for me or Biden, you ain't white." He should have done that, because then the Dems would have had like a hissy fit, like, "Oh my God, he's a racist." Really? But they would have done it. They're always on the 20%. They're never with the 80, always on the 20. It's unbelievable.
Me, I'm just there. Keep going, dude. I'm loving every minute of it.
Oh yeah. All right, next one. We're doing Trump confirms major trade deal with the UK. Very big and exciting day, he said. There we go. Should we play it? Yeah, it's only a minute 33.
A major trade. Trump announced early Thursday that the United States has struck a major trade deal with the United Kingdom, calling it a very big and exciting day for both nations. Trump said the agreement is full and comprehensive and will...
Nah, they're not going to play him, so I'll just read it. President Trump confirmed early Thursday that the U.S. has reached a major trade deal with Britain, saying the agreement marked a very big and exciting day for the key allies. Quote, the agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the U.S. and the U.K. for many years to come. Because of our long-term history and allegiance together, it is all the way up until recently, because I don't know now what the people that have been running the UK. I love you, UK guys, and I know you're not a part of this, but the reason why we Americans love you Brits so much is because every time there was a war and we had to go, you guys didn't even think, yeah, we're in. You guys didn't even think about it. You know, oh yeah, we're there. We're with you. You know, you guys were like brothers in arms with us, you know, all along. And but now I don't know with the people that are there. I don't know. I don't know if they would do that anymore, but you guys have always been known for that. That's why we love you guys. Because of our long history and of allegiance together, it is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our first announcement. I was hoping it would be the UK. Many other deals which are in serious stages of negotiation to follow. The golden age of America is coming. Good. Well, that's good. And it was funny because what's his name? Starner? I think his name is. Yeah, he was trying to put up a fight. Like, what was it, 2 weeks ago? You know, like, oh, no, we're not going to do it. And then all of a sudden, yeah, okay, we got the deal. Because they all realize that they have to cater to him. Does anybody know how the vote went? They were voting, I think it was today, they were voting for to permanently change the name to the Gulf of America.
It was approved.
Yes. How about the Senate?
I believe it was approved.
Did it go to the Senate?
I may be jumping the shark on that one, but I think it was approved.
Good. And everybody's going, oh, they're so arrogant. Wait a minute. Mexico, Canada, and the United States are America. It's all North America, right? That's why he did it. Plus, the majority of the land in the Gulf is America. It's the United States is the majority of the land.
But it doesn't matter because I said this last time we talked about this. If Mexico wants to call it the Gulf of Mexico, they can.
Yeah, they can.
It's just like we call Germany Germany. In Germany, they call it Deutschland. They can call it anything they want.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But the thing is that the United States, what Trump was trying to do, he started with the USMCA, where he wants to make a total alliance among the three of us. All right. It's civilizationism through mercantilism. That's what he's trying to do. Because all three countries, Mexico, Canada, the United States, we all have the things that we need to make the entire continent, the entire alliance great. We got all the minerals, we got the people, we have the marketplace, right? And they got the fentanyl in Mexico. No, they got no, but they have people there who want to work too. So he wants to create an alliance here that's going to work through. Now Canada's being a bigger problem because they gotta puff their chest out. No, there's no way. And
yeah, but did you see how Carney had to sit there and take it?
Yeah, and he turned around and Trump said to his face, he said, "Well, you know, we don't really want to buy Canadian cars. We don't even want to buy their car parts.
We don't want your cars. We don't want your steel. We don't want your aluminum.
Yep.
We don't
need it," he said. Yeah,
lumber.
The guy had to take it.
And he had to sit there.
Yep. And then apparently the Canadian government, Parliament passed like 19 bills to screw America right after that.
Good.
I know. Well, what could be better is you're drinking that Pennsylvania beer and eating those barbecue pork rinds while watching RPW Media Live with Dr. Jade.
There you go.
That's it. MAGA landmass. There you go. We're centralized authority in the now. No thanks. I know. But they're not talking about centralized. They're talking about we work off each other, if that's what you were talking about.
But you do know that Canada is in real danger of breaking up.
Oh yeah, we know about that. Yeah,
because
several.
In the 90s, Quebec separatism got real serious.
What's up, brother?
And as a result of that, they actually passed a mechanism by which a province could secede.
Yeah.
And it's the only Commonwealth country that has such a process in place. I don't know exactly what it is, but they passed this for Quebec because Quebec, the Liberal government, had a lot of people from Quebec. So
Right.
even the National Liberals, they were stocked with Quebecers. So they ended up passing that, I think it was 1998, and it stands till today. And all you need basically is 51% of a referendum. That's
Wow.
what, yeah. So
we are
Alberta and Saskatchewan are both on the cusp.
Yeah. All right. It is the 1 hour mark, and we have a Dr. Jade.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah. You want to bring it up? Your part?
I got it up.
All right. All right. So we're going to do a Dr. Jade.
I found this really great story, guys.
Yeah. Here we go.
It's a Dr. Jade moment.
All right, so I'm going to bring it up. Here's the story.
Okay. This is definitely hilarious. This is your feel-good story of the week, okay? Comes out of Houston. I'm gonna bypass the headline because that's kind of it kind of gives it away. So let's just go down.
Go ahead.
Quote, drug-addicted rats are eating narcotics seized and stored by Houston police, prompting a change in how long the police department is required to store the evidence, officials said. Houston Mayor John Whitmer, Harris County District Attorney, blah, 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 announced new steps Friday to dispose of drugs and other evidence kept at police headquarters downtown, some of which has been sitting there for decades, attracting rodents, even though cases they are linked to have long been adjudicated. It gets better. Okay, so 1.2 million pieces of evidence, hundreds of thousands of pounds of drugs. We've got 400,000 pounds of marijuana in storage. The part I want to get to.
The rats are the only ones enjoying it.
Yeah. Cheers said Friday the drug evidence collected before 2015 that is no longer needed for cases will be destroyed. An old rule did not allow destroying drugs unless cases predated 2005.
So what are they
what I want to get to there's a little bit further down where it says about the open cases. Yeah, right there. He said that of the open cases, only one has evidence deemed compromised by rodents. I think that's being optimistic.
I think so too.
Asked whether the rodent problem in the downtown evidence room could compromise convictions, Lemaitre declined to answer, indicating he is not an attorney. And Peter Stout, president and CEO of Houston Forensic Science Center, said at the media briefing that evidence held in storage rooms attracts rodents and critters of all types. It is a nationwide issue. Oh, the problem for property rooms everywhere in the country. Rodents, bugs, fungus, all kinds of things love drugs. This is difficult getting those rodents out of there. I mean, think about it. They're drug addicted rats. They're tough to deal with. Does that bring up to anybody a real visual here?
Yeah. That's great.
They're
getting high and they love it.
Yeah, I told this to someone and she says, you mean rats will eat cocaine? Well, of course they will. They did an experiment quite some time ago, and the rat in the cage had two levers. If it pushed the one lever, it got food. If it pushed the other lever, it got cocaine. It kept pushing the cocaine lever. It did not, and just starved itself to death.
And within 12 weeks, it applied for federal assistance and it was given.
Yeah. I saw that story and I said, oh my God, that is just, that's over the top.
That's awesome.
Yeah, did you see some of the comments? Veterinarian rehab.
Oh, no. Let me see. I'll bring it back.
Veterinarian rehab clinics. A Pied Piper.
Oh, there you are. No, I didn't. Veterinarian clinic, pleaded 20 years. He's already out.
No, in the comments. In the comments.
Oh, in the comments. Oh, I didn't even know there were comments.
And people are commenting.
Oh, our comment. Oh, geez.
Our comments.
God.
Wake up. Wake
well,
up.
I was having
Rich.
some of that rat medicine. Let me see. Hunter Biden convention in the evidence room. That's right.
Yeah, clever little creatures.
Remember Cocaine Bear?
Yeah. Uncle Bobbity said veterinarian rehab clinics.
You guys are funny as hell. Let me see. I'm like a rat in a cage. I'm feeling twice my age. Yeah. Good song. Jeremiah. He did arrest a big car.
I thought that was great though. I thought that was
a raccoon with a meth pipe this week at a traffic stop. The raccoon with a meth pipe. That's hilarious. Clever little creature.
Rats getting high on they say never get high on your own supply.
There you go. And they didn't.
And they didn't.
But what gets me is, okay, so why did they change the law that after 2005 that they can't destroy the drugs? Well, they're just gonna end up. I mean, with amount of drugs they bust today, they're just gonna end up with a warehouse loaded of drugs and not do anything with it.
No, they destroy them. I guess the old ones, but I guess they had you couldn't do it for 20 years. Now they're shortening it, which means that the rats will only have to go after the drugs on current cases because the old drugs are gone. Now they're going to eat the drugs at the fresher.
Right,
yeah.
And it's fresher. Yeah. Now are they going to create like a rodent rehab for them? Like,
no, that's what who said it? Bobbity said they need veterinarian rehab clinics.
Oh, they have midstream ads. Sorry, guys. That's how I make money. Sorry about that. Did I even put on? Let me see.
There was an ad?
There was an ad. We didn't see it because we're here. But yeah, they do midstream ads. And I asked to put them like way at the end, but they won't do that. Like I asked them also to do it every 30 minutes instead of every 15.
So did you guys get the whole story about the rats eating the cocaine though?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Guys, tell me, how did the ad, because I've never seen one on this channel because I'm here and we don't see them. How do they come up? Is it takes up the whole, wait a minute, it didn't skip it just for you. Oh, all right. So Pam, when it came up, or Bobbity, when it came up, is it just a banner going across or is it take up the whole screen and it's an actual video ad? What is it? Full frontal ad. Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Okay. So does it like does it stop our show for like 30 seconds?
Yeah. Unless they skip it. They got to skip the ad.
Well, yeah, but then they've lost the 30 seconds because this is live.
Yeah, I know.
So one way or the other.
Well, it keeps the lights on.
Oh, I guess you can skip the ad because after like 3 or 5 seconds, you can skip the ad.
Right, and you still get money for that 5 seconds.
Okay.
Just not as much. Yeah,
but if
fine.
they stay for it, but if they,
I may go until we get like a boatload more people that come in. I may not do them anymore on. Takes up the whole screen. Darn.
Yeah, so that means people basically lose 30 seconds of the show while we're in the middle of talking about something.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's crazy, huh? But can't turn it off now. Sorry, guys. Every 30 minutes. Wait a minute. But he gets paid if you don't skip. That's true. I get paid if you guys don't skip. The stream needs an evidence room. Yeah, and some rats. Anybody got Adam Schiff's phone number? He's a rat. He looks like a rat.
Yeah, there you go.
He looks like a rat.
Anybody remember the movie Willard? Anybody remember the movie Willard?
Oh yeah, the song Ben.
Yeah, that was the second movie. That's Michael Jackson's Ode to a Rat.
There you go. That was. It pauses mine. It starts and left off. Just fast forward. Oh, cool. How about that? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it actually pauses our stream, and then people are 30 seconds behind.
I don't know. Oh, okay. So it comes in and all right, good. It pauses us. They don't miss anything. Oh, that's
okay.
Good.
So they're just a little further behind.
Gina, do you have a premium account with YouTube? Because that's how you don't get the ads.
Yeah.
I just stare at the bottom right corner of the screen so I can skip. That's right.
Yeah,
okay.
I have a premium account, so I don't see the ad on my as I'm monitoring.
Yeah, that was a good song. When I was younger and that song came out, I thought it was a good song, Ben. Let me see. Unfortunately, I'm easily swayed by the ads. Now he has the most unique responses. You ever see? And now I have bought 3,200 teeth cleaning devices. I have 256 earwax removal machines, 768 lawyer ads in case you didn't work. They don't work. That's funny. Fauci looks like a rat. Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, he's got his. We're poor peasants, right? See, we got the best chat around. They really are. Let's see. What story next? Oh, Big Letitia. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, let's talk about Letitia. Let's
Big Letitia.
Let's bounce over the next couple of stories. We know we got a new pope. We know that. Let's do the next one.
Well, he's just he's a Francis.
Oh, he's
Francis Light.
Socialist.
New York Attorney General Big Letitia now under federal investigation. I'm going to enjoy. Who wrote this? Matt Margolis. Yeah. I'm going to enjoy writing this too much. I know. I would say the same thing. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany, New York, have opened a criminal investigation into allegations of mortgage fraud involving New York Attorney General Letitia, known as Above the Law James. A source with direct knowledge of the probe confirmed to the New York Post. The investigation, initially revealed by the Albany Times Union, comes on the heels of a formal referral to the Justice Department by Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Polt, who last month urged prosecutors to examine James's conduct. Yeah, she got caught. She signed the paper, and now she's out there saying, "Oh no, this is all bogus. It's not real. They're just coming. It's lawfare." This investigation into Letitia James is a critical step toward delivering justice, Representative Elise Stefanik said in a statement. I remain committed to exposing corruption in New York, defending constitutional rights, and holding the state's failed Democrat leadership accountable. Stefanik represents the district where the investigation originated. According to Polt's referral, James is accused of falsifying records to secure favorable loan terms, something she blamed Trump for.
I was going to say, doesn't that sound familiar?
It's amazing that these Democrats, they get it. That's like Fannie Willis down in Atlanta. She did an interview when she was running for DA, and they said, why should they elect you? Well, because, the people of Fulton County need a district attorney who will not sleep with her subordinates. They need a district attorney that will not take money out of the county for personal reasons. She hires what was his name? Wayne, I forget his last name, but she hires the guy as a special counselor who she's sleeping with, okay, used county money to go on cruises that had nothing to do with her job. Right,
but she paid him back. She paid him back.
She had 30,000 lying around the house. Yeah,
just lying around.
Yeah, but then now we got Letitia. I did a story about this. I think we talked about it already. I did a video on it too. But we got Big Letitia who lied, said that her father was her husband to get a better deal. The case is now in the hands of U.S. Attorney John Sarcone III, a Trump ally. Here you go, a Trump ally whose office in New York's Northern District is overseeing the probe. Ms. James, for both properties listed above, appears to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. Oh, wow. That could amount to criminal charges, including wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and false statements to a financial institution, among others. Now, here's the thing, okay? New York law says that if you do not live in New York at any time during your office term, you are immediately done. It's over. She signed a declaration that this house in Virginia is her lawful permanent residence, she said, which means she should leave office, but she's not. So she's out there saying, wow, this is all bogus. No, they have your signature. So either she has to move and live there or face charges. So she either has to give up her position as the AG of New York or move to Virginia or face federal charges.
Even if she did that, she still got the charges on the property in Manhattan that she lied about.
Yep, she lied about that as well. It's unbelievable how crooked these Democrats are, and yet the press treats them like they're the second coming of Jesus, right? While they're going after Trump. It's just unbelievable. So let me see. James' office declined to comment. Oh, really? Oh, gosh darn. I didn't see that one coming. She professed no one is above the law when she launched a lawfare investigation into Trump in 2019. In a shameless move that reeks of corruption and entitlement. James has brought on Abby Lowell, yes, Hunter Biden's lawyer, to represent her in the criminal mortgage fraud probe. Here's the thing. It's not James herself footing the bill. Can you believe this? They do this too. According to the Times Union, the AG's office, not James, in a personal capacity, hired Lowell. Now, do you believe this? She's violating yet another rule. This is a personal thing, she didn't do this in the capacity of AG. She did this in the capacity of being an oversized jackass. And she went to Virginia and signed the documents. I don't think they were DocuSign. She signed the documents with the statements on there. And now she used the AG's, she used state money to hire. Oh, man, translation, I and every other New York State taxpayer are about to help bankroll one of D.C.'s most expensive swamp lawyers so James can wiggle her way out of a scandal of her own making. I hope they go after her anyway.
She's another one I want to see with a number across her chest.
I do. And Albany's Democrat machine isn't done yet. Democrats are getting ready to ram through a $10 million taxpayer-funded slush fund. Yes, $10 million that state officials can tap to cover so-called reasonable attorney fees and expenses, even for investigations completely unrelated to their official duties. That should be considered fraud because look, think about this. If any corporate CEO took money that they got from products that they sold and they used it for their own personal use, and it wasn't out of a paycheck, all right, they'd be doing the perp walk. That's what would happen.
If you're a CEO and you use your company petty cash to pay for your drunk driving ticket,
you're in trouble. I mean, holy cow.
The IRS is going to get you for that one.
In other words, it's a blank check for political insiders to shield themselves from accountability and funnel public money to their high-priced lawyers. It's a brazen abuse of power designed to protect the very people who should be answering to the public. A spokesman for James admitted that she plans to tap into both the new state fund and a private legal. Now, it seems like they always create these new things to help a Democrat in trouble or to go after a Republican. Like when they had that broad, Jean, whatever her name is, when they had her go after Trump for the sexual assault that I don't think ever happened. She can't remember the date. The only thing she remembers is what she wore. That's her words, not mine. You don't remember the date, where it was, none of that crap, right? Well, the legislature of New York created a law, and how much you want to bet Big Letitia put them up to it? Created a law that said statute of limitations for anything. We don't care how far back it goes. You have 1 year to file on sexual assault. And that was to get a Jean Carroll, whatever her name is, to file against Trump. They had to literally create a law. That's called a bill of attainder. They did that just to go after Trump. You can't do that. You can't create a law to go after an individual or a specific group. You can't do it. It's against the law, but they did it. And they got away with it. And I'll bet any Democrat judge would uphold it. It's just unbelievable, this system we have. So I'm not happy that my state tax dollars will be covering her defense bills. But it's nice to see karma come back and bite Letitia James on her corrupt you-know-what. Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to support fearless journalism because I want to support my own fearless journalism. Let's do the next one's a feel-good for me. Judge Jeanine Pirro. Trump appoints Fox News host Jeanine Pirro as top prosecutor in D.C. I love this woman. And you can too for $12. No, I love her, man. She's a no-nonsense judge, and she's no-nonsense on the 5. I just love her, even on her TV show. President Donald Trump says he will appoint Fox News host and former prosecutor Jeanine Pirro as interim U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. That might mean that she didn't want the full job. Trump announced the pick in a post on Truth Social. The selection comes as Trump told reporters in the Oval Office Thursday that Ed Martin, who is currently serving as D.C.'s interim top prosecutor, would not be taking the position permanently after losing support among top Republicans in the Senate. ABC News had reported earlier that Trump was eyeing Pirro for a position. The White House did not immediately respond to requests for comment from ABC News. Why would they? You're ABC News. A representative for Fox News press relations did not immediately respond to ABC's news request. Why would they? They are ABC News. Pirro has been a longtime ally of Trump, dating back to her time as a prominent prosecutor in New York. She was an early supporter of his 2016 campaign and publicly defended him during the Access Hollywood tape scandal. Yeah, so that's good. He's going to bring her in to disrupt everything going on in D.C. Good. Good. I'm pretty happy about all that. What do we got here?
Okay, let's go to our list. We don't need to talk about the Pope.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Pope. He's from Chicago. He is Francis Light. That's all we need to know.
He's another socialist.
Yeah, he is. Although, he trashed Trump, MAGA, the whole night. He trashed us all in tweets. I didn't know the Cardinals were allowed to tweet, but okay. Let's see what we can pick here.
What about this one about Yellowstone?
Yeah, the prequel. Yeah, it's got Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is not a very good actor, but he is a movie star. That's my whole point. So
he's a good pilot.
I don't care. He's been in some really good movies. He's not great, but he's a star. I like watching him. All right, here we go. This is a scene, and I already watched this, which I usually don't, but I already watched this, and I think it's great. Guys, pay attention to this video because the way he's talking is, you'll get it. He's talking about how things used to be and should be, but you'll get it. Ready?
There's this theory that these scientists came up with after studying tribes in India and Africa, South America. The smaller tribes didn't have any government, didn't need any. They could sit down and talk out their problems, decide where to plant crops, to hunt. It was just a big family, really. But when the number of people got up around 500, if there wasn't any government, the strongest people would take advantage of the weakest. Every time, without fail. They would enslave, rape, steal, enrich their lives at the expense of other people's lives. Government's man's way of trying to control our behavior, but it can't be controlled. It's what we are. Sooner or later, the kind of people that would enrich themselves at your expense, we use the government to do it. And mark my words, one day they'll create laws to control what we say, how we think. They'll outlaw our right to disagree if we let them.
How about that? And yet he'll vote Democrat every single time. We just went through all that. Everything he just said. We had the Biden administration that was literally making policy to censor free speech that they didn't like. Hey, what's up, Paca? Good to see you, man.
Okay, I don't know if you want to talk about the Houthis. I really want to hear about Carville.
Oh, James Carville. Where's my gumbo? There he is.
I want to hear. I think I may have heard. I've heard so much stuff from Carville this week, but I don't know which clip this is. Because, I may or may not have seen it.
I think it's because back in the day, he was a political hitman for and cleanup guy for Clinton. He married Mary Madeline, who I loved. She was a conservative. How she ever fell in love with him is beyond me. He must be like a really nice guy then, to his wife, because she was top notch. But the rhinos kicked her out because they said when Clinton won that she was guilty of pillow talk, and she was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I think she just got so soured by all that she said, "You know what? Screw you. I'm out." And I don't blame her, but she's very good. She's very conservative. I loved her a lot, and I miss her. Okay, with that said.
But, there's one thing I don't understand about Carville.
What's that?
He is out there. He is seriously trashing the Democrat Party.
Well, all right, I'm going to stop sharing for this one. Yeah, I know why. Because what he's doing is he's trying to say to them, look, because you have to, you had to have watched all the things that he said throughout all of 2024. And part of it is he said, on the one, he said, you got to stop this woke nonsense. You are turning voters away. They don't want to hear this, men in women's dresses and all that.
But that's not my question. My question centers around the fact that he is basically trashing their direction, trashing everything they're saying, and yet he sits there and says that, well, my party, I'm still a Democrat. Well, if everything they're doing you don't like, how can you still agree with them? How are you still calling yourself a Democrat?
Because he believes that the Democratic Party was hijacked by the woke, and that the older ones, like the Pelosi's and all that they feared. See, when you had that squad in the beginning, when AOC first got elected, you had the squad that came out, and they were very in your face and very vocal. And AOC had over 2 million people on her Twitter account at the time. Now, we found out later on, most of them were bots. She lied. Of course she did. But of course she did. But yeah, so it turns out that he was talking about that they took over the party because the moderates were fearful. Because think about it, AOC could go out there. She was doing what Trump was doing. AOC was going out there and trying to get Democrats primaried, because that's the way she won, right? She did a primary against the guy that was there for 30 years or something, and she beat him out. And come on, let's be honest. It's TNA that got her elected. Okay, it's not brains, because she doesn't really have. She's one of the dumbest people in Congress, for reals. I mean, she's the woman who once said that Trump, in his first term, that the reason why his unemployment numbers were so low is because too many Americans had to work more than one job. And she has an economics degree, and she said that. She thinks that the number of jobs people work is what handles the unemployment.
And
what a maroon.
Yeah, John.
Eugene Carroll. Thank you.
Is it John Carroll? Eugene Carville.
Eugene Carville. There you go. I didn't even see that to the end.
Is it John Kennedy out of Louisiana?
Yeah, I love him too.
Did you hear that one day he said AOC is the reason that there's instructions on a shampoo bottle?
Yeah.
He literally said that.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, it's true. All right, let's go back, because there's a video.
I don't understand Carville.
What I was saying, I'm sorry, I didn't finish. What I was saying was that James Carville comes from a time when the Democrats always won because they were in power from 1954 to 1994. 40 years they ran the Congress. And in that amount of time, they had a lot of presidents, so they ran everything. So everything that's bad today that was passed and pushed back then, you can thank them for it. Okay? And
you included the Reagan years in there.
Because Reagan could have gotten a hell of a lot more done if he didn't have to deal with a Democrat Congress that screwed him. As a matter of fact, think about it. That he put through the amnesty, okay, and the amnesty really affected California because most of them were there, right? And he was supposed to get E-Verify, and he was supposed to get more money for border enforcement. And so he gave them the amnesty, and then they said, go screw a rock because we're not giving you anything, even though it was part of the bill. And they never gave it to him. Yeah, Hank Johnson. Well, Hank Johnson, you're right. Hank Johnson is one of the dumbest members. And Dan Goldman as well is one of the dumbest members of Congress. But what we're talking about here is Carville is just disgusted because the wokeness took over. And he was warning them all of 2024, you guys are going to lose. You're actually helping Trump win. And then at one point, he's like, I can't even talk to these people anymore. They're not listening. And he does something similar here. So I'm just going
to. Yeah, but then he goes ahead and says, how he's such a staunch Democrat.
Right. But here you go. Now this
he doesn't like any of them or anything they're doing, but he's still a Democrat.
Well, yeah, because he believes in the party. He doesn't think that the party is going to remain woke. And he's trying to make sure that happens, that the woke are just going to become a phase. Because they all thought that this woke crap was going to be a phase and it was going to fade out. Well, it was. But now we have progressive lunatics like this woman here, Ilhan Omar. Let's play what she says first, because that's what it leads up to. Here we go. Wait do you hear what she says? It's just unbelievable.
Gross.
In particular, would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
That's absolutely false, by the way.
Should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies.
And you notice he didn't push back, right? Because the Uniform Crime Index reports from the FBI says something totally different.
Fight the radicalization of white men.
I mean, can you believe she actually had the gall to say that? And it's probably because she knows there are no white men inside her district.
So
right?
What she's saying is that conservative white men are the ones burning Teslas.
Yes.
Conservative white men are, the ones that are running around harassing people all dressed in black.
Right.
They're the conservative white men burned Portland.
Conservative white men were the ones that a few years ago were going around and beating up all the Asian Americans.
Yeah, and conservative white men burned Portland. Conservative white men burned Minneapolis, Oakland. It's all conservative white men, huh?
Right. Now let's hear from. Hold on. All right, I got to bring it up. Hang on, give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna. And he talks about Ilhan. Calls her Ilhan. All right, here we go.
Ilhan Omar says that white men are responsible for most of the deaths in the United States. So let me get this straight. 69% of the people, I'm stuck on that number, I don't know, but 69% of the people going to vote are white. Of that, 48.5 are males. So I don't know, my rough math is 33%. Let's go out and piss off 33% of the people that vote, and that's a smart strategy.
He's absolutely right.
And the people that agree with her. There are people that actually agree with her. And I think these people are more trouble than they're worth.
He's right.
But
yeah, but he's right. They are more trouble than they're worth. In other words, he's at the point, Jade, right now, where he's saying, why do we keep trying to curtail to these people? Why? Yeah, Ilhan Omar. Yeah. She broke the law too. She lied and said that her brother she married her brother. In her country, they would have killed her for that. But no matter what the cause, the reason. But she married her brother to get him into the country so he wouldn't be an illegal alien. And then she tried to get a divorce from her brother. and she had a harder time doing that. But I mean, and she talks about law and order. She's another one of these a-holes that just rips on Trump. You know, oh, well, he breaks the law all the time. No, you literally broke the law when you married your brother to get him into the country on a citizen marriage thing. It's just, I know, you're right, Sheila. It is twisted, unbelievably so. Yeah, she is. Hey, Billy, what's up, man? I didn't see you there. Sorry, brother. Good to see you, man. Yeah, blatantly anti-white. It's just, and they're allowed to be. They're allowed to be. Me even talking about that, they would call me a racist. Let me see. 14% of the population commit 49%. That is correct. And when you talk about it proportionally, it's way lopsided. Way lopsided. You know, it's got all these egghead leftists. Well, you know, the problem is that society. No, shut up. The problem is that a certain group of people do more murders than anybody else, and you guys just want to placate that. You don't want to get serious about it.
Yeah, you know, they go on about how young black men are murdered, and young black men between the ages of 30 and 40, well, 20, and they have a high rate of being murdered. And what people don't mention is that it's usually another, you know, like a rival gang member. It's usually someone they know or associate in the same environment.
Yep.
It's usually another gang member.
Yeah.
Black on black crime is where it is.
And yet we have some of the dumbest things. Hang on, here we go. Here's one right here. This is liberalism, guys. Ready? Yes, the new obese black lady statue in Times Square is ghastly, but it's worse than you think. That's a statue they just put up. Now, I don't know if it's supposed to be Big Letitia or not. I have no idea. But they literally put all the money out to make this statue and to make a statement in Times Square. I mean, think about it. A new statue just went up in Manhattan, and once again, it's being pushed as a symbol of female empowerment. But take one look at it, and you have to ask, who exactly is this supposed to inspire? For reals. So the statue is of a fictional obese black woman with a blank expression, slumped shoulders, and a very saggy-looking chest. They're calling it a nod to Michelangelo's David, but there's nothing noble or uplifting about it. She doesn't look proud or even strong. She looks tired, checked out, and maybe on a cocktail of antidepressants. So this is how they, well, let me read this. Yeah. Visitors, this is from Black Enterprise. Visitors and residents of Times Square have a new piece of artwork on view these days. A 12-foot-tall sculpture of a woman titled Grounded in the Stars stands at Broadway and 46th Street. The bronze sculpture is the brainchild of London-based figurative artist Thomas J. Price. By creating the fictional character, Price aimed to encapsulate, by creating the fictional character, Price aimed to encapsulate the observations, images, and open calls to New York, that fluty, Los Angeles, and London. According to the Times Square official website, Times Square stands as an iconic symbol and site of convergence, uniting people from all walks of How is this uniting people from all walks of life? Are you kidding me? Sorry. So this is how they imagine a woman's stance now: slouch shoulders, dead eyes, overweight, and simmering with quiet rage. This isn't a celebration of femininity. It's a warning sign. The statue looks less like a tribute to strength and more like a Karen caught mid-meltdown, doesn't it? Ready to demand a manager or lecture a barista over oat milk. And we're supposed to believe this is a subtle nod to Michelangelo's David. David was carved with precision, pride, and intention. This is a blob of yoga pants with attitude. There's no grace, no energy, no presence, just the embodiment of how low the bar has been set for what counts as art and empowerment today. This is about celebrating a female stereotype, fat, miserable, and worn out. That has become the new feminist archetype. And it's not just ugly, it's dangerous. The truth is, cardiovascular disease, why did they capitalize it? Cardiovascular disease is killing black women at staggering rates. Why on earth would they promote a black lady who needs to be on a diet? Wow. I can't say anymore because I might get in trouble, but that is...
oh, boy. Yeah, I saw a picture of that.
How do they get away with saying that's art?
I don't get it.
Yeah, they keep pushing the bounds of absurdity. You are absolutely right, Streaky. It's just unreal. Hey, Chris, what's up, man? Didn't see you there. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah. So what's next? Well, you pick one.
And they put it up there because there's 2 statues of white men, and they put it up there, and it's half again as tall as those statues.
I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. I really don't know.
That is the reason.
Really?
Let's talk about Sotomayor.
Sotomayor?
Listen, okay. Justice Sotomayor.
Right.
She can say it any way she wants. But, you know, a lot of Europeans immigrated to Mexico and South America. It's Sotomayor, okay?
Okay. Ah, Louis, thank you. Louis put up $20. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Louis.
Can be like Louis. Let me see, super sticker. How do I bring that up? My brother always has a way to bring those up. Thank you, sir. Very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Sotomayor, that's a European name. She can pronounce it any way she wants. She's obviously applied a Spanish accent to it, and I'm sure she's, perhaps a very nice person. Unfortunately, she really has very little concept of the meaning of the Constitution of this country.
Yeah, I could not agree. You nailed it perfectly.
I don't know what to say. She's got one job. Okay? And she has no clue.
Right. I know. I do hear she is the nicest person to be around. She's very good to her employees, right? The people the pages and all that work for her.
She's a very nice lady.
But she does not understand the Constitution at all. She was a political pick because she's totally on the left.
Yep.
Kagan was a political pick because she was the Solicitor General prior to being nominated when Obamacare came in, and Obama put her on the court to protect Obamacare.
And what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say about her. Must be that old timers disease sicking in.
There it is. Thank you, sir.
There you go.
All right. Very much. Means a lot.
But yeah, I know what I was going to say. You got to have something to be on the Supreme Court. She's all heart and no balls.
Right. That's what it is. And you know what she did?
There's a problem with that. When you're on the Supreme Court, you got to have a big set.
I know. Here's the thing, though. They all went after Clarence Thomas because he's Clarence Thomas, right? One of the best on the court, him and Alito. They went after Clarence Thomas because he accepted gifts from a businessman that had absolutely nothing before the court, right? And he didn't report it. They go, "Ooh, he didn't report," because there was no rule that said he had to. Nobody
it was legal.
In other words, they're asking for a report that didn't exist. Like there was no, you didn't have to report anything. It wasn't like they said, "Well, you could report it, but you don't have to." No, there was no rule that said you had to report anything because they were supposed to be.
He could have reported it. He could have reported it, but there was nothing that said he had to.
At the same time, these losers, right? AOC was one of the big ones. She was out there all the time trying to get Thomas off the court. And here, Sotomayor, they never mentioned that Sotomayor, she wrote a bunch of children's books. And on top of her speaking fee when she does speeches, I don't know what she charges for that, but they have to buy this. Whoever the entity is that she's speaking to has to buy so many thousands of her children's books in order for her to speak there. Now, I don't know. That's kind of like extortion. I mean, sure, I'll speak. What's the normal speaking fee? Well, yeah, we'll pay you this. Yeah, but you got to buy a few thousand. It was like 5,000 books or something like that. We got to what?
Wonder how many,
donate them. You know, I don't care. Just sell them.
I wonder how many end up in dumpsters.
Exactly. Sotomayor, probably artificially flavored and loaded with high fructose corn syrup. Exactly. That's perfect.
And that's true because she's got diabetes.
Probably. Yeah.
No, she's diabetic.
Yeah. So I don't mean to speak ill of her because I hear she's very, very sweet. You know who else is? You're going to die when you hear this. This other woman is very, very nice to the people that work for her. You would never know it. Rachel Maddow. Rachel Madcow from MSNBC, which stands for More Silly Nonsense by Chicks. Look at this. Elstel 3 is my evil twin. Yeah, but I hear she's extremely nice to the people who used to work for her. Because now they're all leaving.
Yeah, and then, you know, you got MSNBC, and then we've got MSCCP.
Right. MSDNC. Let me see what's next.
Anyway, yeah, she's a very nice lady.
Sotomayor. Let's do the Sotomayor story. Justice Sotomayor.
I thought we were doing that. I thought we were doing that.
Urges lawyers to stand up against Trump admin. Guys, this is one of the leading people, highest ranking people in the judiciary. And she doesn't understand there's a separation of powers. You can't, she's not allowed. This is why when they come to a joint session of Congress, either for whatever they're going to do, okay, State of the Union or his joint session, that's why they're not supposed to clap, stand up, jump up and down, seem happy or sad, right? I remember when Barack Obama lied about the court, and Alito he very timidly shook his head and just whispered to himself, "Not true." And the left lost their minds. So now we have Sotomayor urging people to stand up against Trump.
Well,
ready?
In fact, you know, I don't agree with the left on anything, but in fact, what Alito did was actually out of pace for a justice.
I know.
And that's why they said that.
But no one would have caught it unless you had all your MSNBC, CNN, you know, name three letters
staring
here. Like just like looking for any single thing to jump on. He went like this, he went, "Not true." But he didn't say it. You know what I mean? You could read his lips, "Not true."
Yeah.
And it was because the president of the United States lied. All right. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't like go, no, you could see very imperceptibly. He just went,
yeah. Now this one jumps up and down and says something and they don't notice.
Now, does she not look like an ugly Roseanne Barr right there from yesteryear when Roseanne was heavy? I think she does. Liberal Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor urged attorneys to stand up against the Trump administration in remarks that are sure to draw plenty of criticism, especially from the political right. Of course, they will. Sotomayor made her remarks Thursday night at a meeting hosted by the left-wing American Bar Association that bought 10,000 of her children's books, the nation's biggest legal group. Appearing at the event was an act of solidarity. In all of the uncertainty that exists at this moment, this is our time to stand up and be heard, she said. Right now, we can't lose the battles we are facing. Now, I say she has a First Amendment right to say that. Okay, she does. But when she comes right out and is talking specifically about the Trump administration, who, I'm sorry, maybe I'm biased, but, well, I know I'm biased, but the Trump administration has done nothing wrong that I know of so far. Everything they've done has been under a microscope, and they scream, rant, and rave. It's against the law. He's a fascist. They've done nothing wrong. They followed the law. But Sotomayor also, what?
I have to disagree with you on one something.
Sure, go ahead.
Because there are certain people in certain positions that actually do not have all the freedoms that citizens have. When your words and your opinion makes a difference, you do not have the same freedom because your words are going to cause a reaction at that point.
Yeah, but there's nothing. But there's nothing written down that says you can't say. It's just an unwritten rule.
Yeah,
that
I
you
don't think there's.
You don't trash over the separation of powers.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about before, you know, they dinged, they tried to ding Alito for it, but you know, people in certain positions and a Supreme Court justice, yeah, they cannot do that. They cannot jump up and down. They can't say, I think this is bogus, because they're the ones who are making the final judgment at the highest court in the nation. They cannot say anything like that.
Yep.
They do not have freedom of speech.
Oh, before I forget, I'm sorry to interrupt. Before I forget, stick around, guys, because we got a long lost clip of the week. The long lost clip of this week is my very first video that I ever made on this channel. It is horrifying. It is terrible. It is boring as AF, and you're going to love it. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll just play the beginning.
And all of you guys out there, hit the like button for me.
Yeah, please hit that like button.
We got some slackers out. We got some slackers out there. Hit the like button.
How many we got so far? What is it? 20 something? 23.
We got 27.
Oh, 27? I got 23.
Yeah.
All right.
I got 27.
Watching, 26 watching now. We lost
somebody. Yeah, 26 watching now, 23 likes.
Yeah, the judges are activists now. They certainly are. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is they are, but they can't be. They just cannot be that. But
see, judges, okay. You have Thomas, Alito, they've all gone out and they've all given speeches, okay? And they can talk about certain trends that are happening that they don't like. Like Thomas came out a few years back and said that he doesn't like the lawfare that district judges are throwing at conservatives. And he said, you need to stop because you're throwing national rulings out there of everybody else in the country that's outside of your district. That's the reason why they call you a district judge, because your ruling is only supposed to be in that district. It's not supposed to be a national ruling. And he basically came out with an argument with that. So they can do that. They can say things, but to just come right out and trash that. So now Sotomayor, she can't pretend any longer that she's objectionable.
No, but for instance, a Supreme Court justice could never, I'll use this as an example, they would never be able to say, I support abortion, I will always vote for abortion. They can't say, they just cannot say that.
Right. You can't say that because what it does is it takes your objectivity away, the perception that you are not political at all, you're not ideological, you're going by the Constitution. Now, I think out of all of them, there may be 3 on the court that actually do that. The rest of them, I'm talking about so-called conservatives. The rest of them, no, they're all ideological. I think Alito. All you got to do is read their opinion. I think Alito. I think Thomas and Gorsuch. Yes, I don't think Kavanaugh does, because Kavanaugh has made some rulings based on his fear of what the Democrats threatened to have him impeached and removed because of the whole Ballsy Ford, Christine Ballsy Ford, right? And so he did a couple of rulings, like he voted a couple times the way that the Dems wanted because they were threatening to have him removed, and they could have done it too. So
I'd have to look at it again, but I'd keep Kavanaugh and Gorsuch in that pile.
I'd keep Kavanaugh, but I wouldn't put him in that pile. No, I think there's only 3.
I'd put him in that pile. I'm not sure about Amy Coney Barrett. You know, she's a funny one because
she's very disappointing.
She's disappointing, but I listened to a lawyer who is on the Supreme Court bar,
right?
And he was saying that you really have to analyze her writings and her decisions because she comes out of theoretical. She's very pro-establishment, is what she is.
judicial.
But she's very, very structured because she came from an educational type environment.
Right.
She's a theorist.
Right.
And so for instance, all of these cases they want a judgment on, she says no because she wants every little point to the nth degree before she makes the decision. Well, you can do that in academia, but it's a little harder in the real world.
A little
and that's
harder
where
in the
she's
real
screwing
world.
up.
When every ruling that's made affects multi-millions of lives.
Yeah, and that's
one way
where
or the
she's
other,
screwing
right?
up because she's bringing her lifetime experience in academia, in which you want. So I don't think she's bad, but I think she's driven by her background that wants an academic paper in front of her, and that's not what you're going to get in the real world.
All right, let me finish this. In all of the uncertainty that exists at this moment, this is our time to stand up and be heard, Sotomayor said. Right now, we can't lose the battles we are facing. See, she's saying we. Who is we? She's not talking about the American people. She's talking about her ideological side of the aisle.
Yeah.
I don't hear. The only time I believe a justice should be ideological is on the Constitution. That's it. There are those that believe in the rule of law by the Constitution, and there are those that do not.
When they're being ideological about the Constitution, they should say, "I support the Constitution."
Right, but the thing is,
and that's it.
Well, you got Justice what's her name, Ketanji Brown Jackson. She literally said during her hearing, her confirmation hearing, that she thinks that the Constitution is racist. Racist. The Constitution.
She said that race would be taken into account in her decisions.
Right, and so they should have never confirmed her, because look, you have to take a an oath that says that you will uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution. How can she do that if she thinks it's racist? She can't. She not only can't she name what a woman is, she can't possibly rule in favor of the Constitution, and she doesn't. She never has.
And somebody who sits there and says she's going to use race as a consideration, I mean, that should have outlawed her right there. She physically said that.
Yeah. So I don't understand. But Sotomayor also conveyed the current reality that the Trump administration presents to the legal profession. Quote, if you're not used to fighting losing battles, don't become a lawyer. Our job is to stand for people who can't do it themselves. Now that she can say.
Yeah, that she can say.
Right, she's talking about the entire industry of the slime. I mean, the lawyers. Right. For me, being here with you is an act of solidarity. All right. The high court's 3 liberals have been vocal in recent months regarding criticism of SCOTUS by President Trump and members of his administration. Now, they're right. Trump shouldn't do that either. But if Trump were legitimately breaking the law, I would say that a justice based on a ruling they have made that goes against Trump for that behavior would be perfectly legit. So when we see 3 justices that always vote against Trump and always vote against the Constitution, I think the president has the right to mention something. I mean, think about it. There were some decisions that were made that you're like, this has got to be 9-0. I mean, it's so cut. No, the 3 voted against it because they're voting ideologically. And they say, well, the right's voting it. No, because if you read the opinions, Sotomayor, she's written opinions, and you're like, holy cow, did she really write this? It's like terrible. Awful.
Yeah, I mean,
not convincing at all.
In the ideal situation, the Supreme Court and the Attorney General of the United States should be completely free and under no yoke of any president. They should be able to do what they're doing per the law, per the Constitution, no comment from the president.
Right.
And that's why you have to be very careful about choosing your Attorney General and your justices. I think that is a normal situation in which people are behaving normally and at least giving us the impression that they are trying to follow the Constitution in a nonpartisan manner. Unfortunately, at least these three have absolutely no interest in even giving us that impression.
Yeah. It's like they don't care. And the arguments that they make are just horrendous. You're like, wait a minute, you really
said that?
You actually
I mean, they got one job, right? They got one job. They got one document to examine.
I know.
They got one document to examine, and all the and the Bill of Rights and the amendments.
Right.
They got one set. That's it. That's what they got to do.
That's right.
And instead, they dick around finding the, how did they word it? The emanations and penumbras in the Constitution when they passed, it's 1997, I think they passed the Roe v. Wade.
What was the question?
When they, in Roe v. Wade, I think it was 1997, and they
Roe v. Wade passed? It was 74, wasn't it?
So in the 70s.
I think it was 74.
Anybody who happens to know, it's in the 70s.
Yeah,
anybody who happens to know, put it up. But
yeah, the court made up propaganda. That's what the court did.
If you read the paper, it says based on the emanations and penumbras of the Constitution. There's emanations and penumbras in the Constitution.
Yeah, that's what
1973 case, 1973, landmark 1973 U.S. Supreme Court case. That was it. So we were both wrong.
I was closer.
You, but yeah, and I mean, when you start to, I mean, it kind of sounded like they dropped acid and read the Constitution.
Well, they don't. I don't think. I swear to goodness, I don't think they read it. And like, you could read something and then you got to read it again because you just really weren't paying attention. I don't think they ever really read it again. I just don't, because they don't understand. And if they did read it, look, there's a lot of meanings inside our Constitution. If you actually read it, there's a lot of really cool stuff when you go, if you're into history and you go, wow, why did they write that? And you go and look it up.
Rich,
like, holy cow.
Where are the emanations and penumbras?
They don't exist. They made it up. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. They looked at they were on a big acid trip.
Well,
reading the Constitution.
You're exactly right. And I tell people like that argued the other way. I said, look, they said that they found a right to abortion. Okay, we found a right to life. That's in the Constitution because they consider the Declaration the Constitution. Okay, part of the Constitution. But here's the thing. I tell people that you can read the Constitution upside down, hold it up to the light, and pour lemon juice on it, and you're still not going to find abortion in there. It doesn't exist. So when they say penumbras and what the other thing was,
emanations and penumbras,
they're saying, well, you have to smoke some really good weed first, and then you'll shots of whiskey,
and it doesn't really say it, but we felt it.
Yeah. We saw it. I had the paper in front of me, and I was so stoned that I saw them emanating from the paper, and I thought, "Wow, man, that's cool."
Yeah, I mean, don't forget
this was what they did, and people went, "Wow, cool, man. Yeah, that's right."
Don't forget, Rich. Don't forget, this was the 70s. I remember the 70s. I grew up in the 70s.
So did I. You know what else gets me? You know what else gets me? When the Supreme Court makes, huh?
I was 13 in 1970. I know about the 70s.
Yeah, I was 6.
I came of age during the 70s.
I was 6. Anyway.
I'm older than you.
Yeah. So what gets me is the libnuts, when a ruling comes out and it's in their favor ideologically, they'll stand back and go, well, the Supreme Court made the ruling. That's it. It's over. Somebody show me in the Constitution where it says that the Supreme Court gets the final word, because they do not. They do not. The Congress does. You know how that is? Because the Congress can just make another rule, another law, and the Congress can legitimately tell the courts what cases they may and may not hear.
But Congress can make laws that have to comply with the Constitution.
Since
so
when?
That it goes all the way back that way.
Since when? Obamacare doesn't comply with the Constitution.
You find enough Democrats who say it does.
I would say 90% of what the Congress has passed over the years is unconstitutional if we're going to put that in there.
You're probably right, but they say it does, and once
Article
it gets
1,
the blessing.
Article 1, Section 8, known as the enumerated powers, only has 18 powers. Now, Congress can make all kinds of laws among those 18 powers. All right? They can make as many laws as they want, as long as they fall under those 18. We also have amendments, which you can add in there because they went through the process of an amendment asking the states, can we have the right to do this and take it away from you? And they went, yeah, sure, why not? We didn't want to do it anyway. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but there's many laws that have been kiboshed because they went against the Constitution.
Yeah, well, I would. What the hell are we talking about?
More should have.
That's pretty good. We got
probably a lot
more.
There's probably more laws that should be kiboshed on the basis of the Constitution.
See, my point is, they'll say, well, that's the end of it. That's it. And then,
well, as long as they agree with it.
When the same exact court, same session even, rules the other way, they suck. They can't do it. And then you got Joe Biden as president, and he says, well, the court told me that I can't continue to forgive student loan debt, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they don't like what the Supreme Court says. They want to impeach them and have them thrown off the court.
Exactly. Because the Democrats, what I've always said is the Democrats love a rigged system.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they care about. They want a rigged system.
They love a fair fight as long as it's weighted in their favor.
We're going to do long lost clip of the week.
Oh yeah. Let's do
that. It is my very first video. It is awful. It is terrible. It will make you laugh. You will make fun of me for a long time, but at least it means you have to come back here to do it. So that's my whole reason for playing this. So it's 9 minutes long. I am no way playing the whole 9 minutes. Not even
play like
close.
a minute.
I won't even play a third.
Play a minute or two.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to play. But you guys will see that it was horrific. I'm surprised I was able that YouTube allowed me to continue after this. So we're going to play it. Let me see. Where is it? Got it right here.
Long lost clip of the week. Long lost clip of the week. Long lost clip of the week.
All right, here we go. Let me see. Is it coming up? Yeah. Okay. Let me increase it. There we go. All right.
Bring it up full screen.
Let's go out live right now to.
What the hell was that? How did that come up? Here we go. I just love when Elizabeth Warren is on a news program and the host doesn't exactly stick to the usual script, which is throw softballs at Democrats. And here we have Andrea Mitchell asking Warren why the Democrats are supporting MAGA Republicans, because they are. Watch this.
So why are Democrats supporting and pouring money into their campaigns?
I believe that these folks are very.
Now, do you hear the echo? The reason why there's an echo is because this mic was very close. I have a speaker down here, right? I got one of those soundboard speakers, and I didn't realize that if you don't do certain things in OBS for the sound, it's going to pick it up because it's coming right at the back of the mic. And so that was number one.
Very, very dangerous.
Ooh, they're very, very dangerous. She didn't answer the question, if you notice. She was asked why. I think I still have that shirt. are Democrats supporting MAGA Republicans.
We're not seeing
I
you.
believe these people are very, very dangerous. Then why
you
are
are.
you supporting very, very dangerous I'm people? down in the bottom right. And see, the answer really, she's not going to give it, but the
there you
answer
are.
is, they made a huge miscalculation in that the Democrats believe that MAGA Republicans are reviled by all Americans, that they're evil. This is why they're going around
probably 30
calling them
pounds
domestic
ago.
terrorists, a threat to our republic. It's why Biden gave his pedo Hitler speech outside Independence Hall last week. He's saying that they don't abide by the Constitution, pretty much projecting everything the Democrats do onto the Republicans. And so Elizabeth Warren doesn't want to answer the question. The reason that they're supporting them, they're donating money and they're voting for them. Some are switching parties in the primaries just to help the MAGA ones to get through. And we're like, thanks. But they think that the MAGA candidates will be very easy to beat in the general.
And they
don't seem to realize yet how angry and frustrated people are with what the Democrats have done to us.
Okay. All right. The torture's over. That was it. I played like a minute and a half. Sorry, guys, but sometimes we have to do. Look at that. We lost a bunch of people.
There was something here on Fetterman. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, you know what? The party's going after him now because he said some nice things. And I think it's mostly because he supports Israel. So they're going after him. Yeah, Pocahontas. I called her Focahontas. Well, actually, I wrote an article when I wrote for Daily Headlines. I wrote an article, and the editor he called me and he goes, "Dude, I am laughing my ass off, but you can't call her Chief Crazy Bitch." That's what I called her, Chief Crazy Bitch. I said, "What about Chief Spreading Bull?" He goes, "That's a little better, but I don't think we're going to go there either." So I'm sorry. What did you want?
There's one on Fetterman here.
All right, Fetterman. Yeah,
I
got it.
Where is it?
I got it. I'm bringing it up now. There you go. Yeah, guys, what they're trying to do. Okay, hold on. It was a before and after. Yeah, that's correct. What they're trying to do to Fetterman now is they're saying, he's not cognitively there because of his stroke. I have never seen such a recovery as I don't want to sound like I like the guy because I don't. I'll never vote for him. But what they're trying to do to him now is just wrong, and it's sick what they're doing to this guy. Because they're saying that he's out of it. No, he's not. Probably because he's saying things that he believes that aren't part of the woke agenda, right? So former CNN host nails why Dems are trying to destroy John Fetterman. This is Matt Vespa, who I like. I'm not a fan of Chris Cuomo, but he has become more sensible since he left the confines of CNN. I agree 100% with him. I'm not a fan of him either, but I can watch him without getting sick to my stomach. It's funny how he, Chuck Todd, and the others seem to be making more sense now that they don't have to kowtow to the hyper left-wing sensibilities of their former employers. They're not red-pilled, but they dish out some decent takes now and then. Cuomo nailed why Senator John Fetterman is being targeted for destruction. He's not a crazy person. He's pro-Israel, focused on working Americans, and understands the realities of the 2024 election. You can't scream about Trump 24/7 and block all of his nominees. His side lost, and there were consequences. The former although he said that, Fetterman, the one beef I have with him is he did say one time, well, the president won dutifully or duly, and he has the right to have who he wants, but then he voted against 3 people, Hegseth being one of them. So where the hell was it? The former CNN host pointed out that's the irony here, that Fetterman is being canceled for trying to rebuild the party so that they can win elections. Let me see.
Fetterman has been reaching across the aisle too much for them.
Yep.
The senator crushes Hamas and campus protests, which, as we all know, is a pet project of the radical left. He met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, right? That's a huge sin, right? After Trump won the election. And he worked with Republicans on passing the Laken-Riley Act and voted for 10 of Trump's cabinet picks. And now the senator is saying that Trump has keyed in correctly on the most important concern in our country, helping the majority do better when it comes to workers and economic benefits. The Democrats have had it since all of these things, hence the hit piece. Now, Democrats, this is why you lost. You can't cancel everyone who doesn't hate the right and play by your stilted rules of purity.
Right.
But the bigger mistake here is that they're targeting a Democrat who has it right.
First of all, who is this man and what has he done with Chris Cuomo?
Fetterman is trying to work on the issue that is the key to winning the midterms and to the long-term success of our country, addressing the yawning gap between the many who struggle and the outrageously wealthy few.
See, the problem I have with all this is that Fetterman really is trying to bring back the Democratic Party pre-woke. That's what he's trying to do. And it'll never go there again because they're out of that. But even if he was able to convince them to behave that way to win elections, because you can convince, you can say, look, we're never going to be in the majority again if you guys keep, you stay in control because you guys are nuts. So why don't you start lying and acting like, even if he did that, I fear that they would then go and do the exact opposite because that's what they always do. They always run on things they never deliver, and they go the exact opposite, and then they don't even listen to their own constituents anymore. Now, they'll say the same damn thing about us, but you know what? The MAGA group, we love what Trump is doing. That's why we voted for him. On Twitter, X, there's all these leftists that are saying, like Trump did the X, Y, and Z. Did you vote for that? And everybody's like, hell's yeah. You damn right I did. It's great. You gotta love it.
Did you see Cuomo's piece? I think actually we might have had it on one of the Friday nights. Cuomo's piece when he called Trump, and he said he wanted to apologize on the part of Democrats after Trump got shot.
I didn't see that. No.
You didn't see? Yeah, he called and actually spoke to Trump, and he said, this was wrong. This is not on. This is not, shouldn't happen. And I'm really sorry it happened to you,
Wow. How about that? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the other observation, of course, is I've said this before, Fetterman had a stroke. As he's recovering from his stroke, he's becoming more conservative.
Oh.
As he's recovering from his brain damage, he's becoming more conservative.
Yeah. Yeah. Because most leftists, they suffer from Dame Bramage. They really do.
Riazane Diaz-Amage.
Yeah. Let's see. What's next?
I want to talk about Ashley Barrett.
Okay, well, let me do this one first, and then we'll get into Ashley. There's one about Elon. There's one about Elon. Yeah, I want to do that too, but I want to get this one out because I don't want to forget. So ready? 71% of Democrats want Elon Musk in jail because they support waste, fraud, and abuse. It's the only conclusion. Due process for me, not for thee. This story seems to put the rest of the Democrats' commitment to due process. A Heartland Institute Rasmussen poll found that 7 out of 10 Democrats would like to see a law passed that would put Elon Musk in jail. Can you believe this shit? So the full story. All right, you read that right. They don't think that Elon should go to jail if he broke a law. They want a law passed that would put him in jail. Thank God for the Constitution's provision forbidding bills of attainder. But they do bills of attainder. We just mentioned one earlier today against Trump in New York. For those of you who have forgotten their civics lessons, or the younger ones who have never were blessed to have a decent civics class. That's right. They don't teach that anymore. A bill of attainder is a legislative act that declares somebody guilty of a crime, usually vaguely defined, and allows them to be punished without a trial. It is a purely political prosecution. I call it persecution, and an even more extreme example of what the Democrats tried to do to Trump, which at least had the fig leaf of inventing crimes and having a trial. Democrats like the idea, obviously. Let's see. All right, we got to read it then. Since he agreed to lead President Donald Trump's effort to reduce government waste, Elon Musk has become so hated by liberals that they would overwhelmingly favor a law to put the high-tech billionaire behind bars. Now, let's analyze this for a minute. Why do regular voting Democrats hate Elon? Because their leaders told them to. Why did their leaders tell them to? Because he's taking away all the money, the ill-gotten money that they were spending to keep us woke, to keep the world woke, globalist. That's why. But the people that are voting, they just don't seem to understand that. They think, well, he's destroying institutions. No, he's taking money away from people that abused it, that wasted it, that did fraud. I mean, think about it. All those big hauls that they took, all the money, how many people committed fraud? I mean, Social Security alone, people that are 160 years old, what was it, like 3,000 of them are getting checks mailed out? People over 300 years old are getting checks mailed. Somebody's cashing them. Yet these people, they don't know that part of it. All they know is you're supposed to hate Elon Musk. A new telephone and online survey by Rasmussen reports and the Heartland Institute finds that 54% of likely voters would support a hypothetical law that would imprison Musk for his role in Doge, including 39% who would strongly support such a law. Wow. 36% oppose a law that would send Musk to prison, including 26%. That means 26 out of the 36. 26% who strongly oppose it, while 10% are not sure.
How can you be not sure about something like that?
Well, it means that they didn't want to answer either way, so they just go not sure. They're sure, they just didn't want to answer it. If it was a phone, a lot of people fear, they like, you know what? They know where I live, and they could be reporting it back. 71% of Democrats a hypothetical law to put Musk behind bars, as would 80% of self-identified liberal voters. These people are lunatics. They say that Trump is a fascist and a danger to democracy. This poll here alone shows you who is a fascist and a danger to our republic. 54% of Republicans and 57% of conservative voters would oppose such a law. Among voters not affiliated with either party, 52% would support a law to imprison Musk for his. That's how many ignorant people we have in this country. He is saving these people money, right? These people, because of what he has done and the tariffs, right? They may have their income taxes completely eliminated if they earn under $200,000 a year, and they want him in prison. He says, "I'm sorry, but what?"
Here's my question.
What?
Why only 54% of Republicans and 57% of conservatives would oppose such a thing? I mean, if you've got any sense at all and you're any kind of conservative at all, that should be like 98%.
It should have been, yeah, but it never will be because we have too many rhinos. 4 out of 10 Americans strongly support tossing Elon Musk into jail because he recommended firing some bureaucrats. Are Democrats that devoted to expanding government? Yes, of course they are. And I think it has nothing to do with money. No, I disagree there. It is all about how Musk has emasculated the left. That's a good point, but it's also about the money. Think about it. They took U.S. aid money into NGOs. The NGOs, after paying themselves, all that exorbitant crap and all their bennies and air travel and all that first class, after paying all that, then they put the money into foreign programs that were keeping globalism alive and hatred of the United States. His real sin is not cutting government, but cutting the left off there. He just said it. Cutting the left off from its source of money and power. He just said before that it's not about money. Has nothing to do with money, but then he says it has to do with him cutting them off from the source of money and power. Did I miss something? So the fact that the majority of Democratic voters would support imprisoning Elon Musk for trying to make government more efficient is a shocking indictment of the modern left, which has become increasingly more tyrannical in recent years, said Justin Haskins, senior fellow at the Heartland Institute, and the poll's primary author. We've reached a point where many Americans would rather unjustly punish innovation than fix the broken systems That is correct. This tyrannical impulse has come to dominate the left-leaning parties over the past couple of decades. They're all, I always say, scratch a liberal and you'll see underneath an authoritarian, because you have to be an authoritarian to be a liberal, because they don't like to debate because they lose. In the arena of ideas, they need to bring more ammunition, right? They lose every single time. So now they just shut up and let me do what I want to. That's what they've become. They're authoritarians. It's like think about it. Right now, they're all like, for the illegals. Well, there's a thing called due process. Really? Really? What about the due process of the J6ers? Right? The people that the cops open the door and said, come on in. They come in, they adhere to the velvet ropes, they take a bunch of pictures. Now they're in prison. They're in the DC gulag.
Yeah,
for, 3 years now?
And no, well, the lefties lined up in a chorus to talk about how Trump let out violent criminals when he pardoned them all.
Right, exactly. And here, like, I didn't see them talking about due process when they would scream at you if you took your mask off. Even though it didn't work. They knew it didn't work, but they said, well, you're going to wear it because we told you to. What? They arrested a guy in California because he was out in the ocean by himself without a mask. He was surfing. What?
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember it too. We covered it. Believe it or not, we covered it here. But think about that. I mean,
and
when they made us stand 6 feet, which they pulled out of their rear end. Fauci admitted it, so did Dr. Birx. 6 feet away from each other. We had supermarkets that were painting or putting tape down where you had to be 6 feet away from it. Ridiculous. Why? Because we said so. Where's the due process? There's your due process. That's what they did. So they don't have the right to demand due process. Just like this, they don't have the right to say that we should create a law just to throw somebody in prison because we don't like what he did, even though what he did is helping them.
And you know what's worse than that?
What's that?
The Brits have already said they want to extradite him because they've already got a law they want to charge him with and throw him in jail.
Who?
Musk.
Elon
Musk. Yeah, the Brits want him extradited.
Well, wait a minute. That's the left-wing Brits because they don't make any sense. How? So for a crime that he supposedly committed here.
No, it's for X. It's for his Twitter, and they say that he's undermining the political process, and that's
it's because they made laws in their country, and he said, "I'm not complying with that."
Yeah,
he doesn't.
That's basically what it was.
So he said you can turn off X if you want to. That's what he said. He said you can turn it off if you want to, but I'm not complying with your syllabus.
He said X is an American company. We have freedom of speech.
Yep, that's what he said. And
shove
so
it up
now
your blowhole.
I remember that they're going out saying that they want to go after him, but they can shut it down. They could literally have the levers of power to shut down X in the UK.
Yeah, but they want to extradite him and have him charged and imprisoned in the UK.
Because liberals are the same no matter where they are. It's like when a liberal doesn't want to eat meat. Well, when a conservative doesn't want to eat meat, he doesn't eat meat. A liberal doesn't eat meat, he wants you to not eat meat either. That it's just the way they are. Liberals are liberals no matter where they are. The far left has always been tyrannical because its agenda is utopian, and utopian visions require imposing uniformity of ideas and behavior. This is why the fascists they censor you first, like Joe Biden, because they don't want competing ideas in the arena of ideas. But generally speaking, parties like the Democrats have been more driven by mundane technocracy and spreading the money around rather than seizing control of every thought and action. You know why? Because they know that Americans are too diverse. They're never going to get compliance that way. They were interested in running things just well enough so that they could skim off the top and maintain power. Exactly correct. Typical politics, in other words. Think of Richard Daley, the boss of Chicago's political machine, and compare him to Brandon Johnson, today's Brandon Johnson. Daley wanted to be basically a legit mob boss. Johnson wants to tear everything down and replace it with the brave new world of communism. He does. No longer The Democratic Party has become the Maoist revolutionary party. And while the American system of government makes Maoism extraordinarily difficult to impose from above, the desire for a cultural revolution style of politics is the motivating force for about 50 to 60% of the Democrats and about 80% of its base. It's the off with their heads faction, or in America, throw them in jail. We saw it in a lawfare case against Trump, which was transparently a witch hunt, and we see the same thing here. I don't like them, so throw them in jail. So much for norms. Great piece. I like when the writers really nail it, and they nailed it there. Let's see. Our supreme leader blatantly said we have free speech and a long history of it before Trump and Vance. The absolute of him. Yeah. Unreal. Let's see. A chicken coop in every backyard at every school, so fresh eggs are never blocked from the stomach. He caved in Turkey. Let me see.
Okay, I like the other story. My other story.
Yeah.
My other story.
Oh, which one?
Ashley Babbitt.
Oh, yeah, Ashley. That's it.
Yeah, I like to keep Ashley Babbitt's name on everybody's.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
mind.
And this is, well, nothing about Ashley Babbitt these days is good news because she was murdered. But
yeah,
this is good news as far as I'm concerned about Ashley.
Well, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah. Breaking. Settlement in principle reached in Ashley Babbitt lawsuit. The young woman gunned down in the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Crazed Biden judge starts screaming in courtroom. Ha! There she is. She served our country. You know what? They analyzed the video when she was shot. The glass was busted out of that frame. She jumped up there and she wasn't going in. She could have easily gone in. She jumped up there and sat like this. She was blocking anyone from going in. That's what she was doing. And that a-hole shot her. And he was promoted. I could not believe he was promoted. That's the same guy who left his firearm more than once in a bathroom. I guess he had to take his firearm off to, do his thing. And then he forgot to put it back in his holster and left it there in a public bathroom inside the Capitol. And he wasn't reprimanded or fired. He's been let go now because of too many other things that happened.
Yeah, the reason it all happened is because the masterminds were determined that somebody was going to die.
Hmm?
They were determined that somebody was going to die, and what they really wanted is the rioters to kill a couple of policemen. And when they couldn't get that, you got
to think of this, though. The Democrats, with your line of thinking, because I agree 100%. That's why they had the pipe bomb down at.
You didn't let me finish my thought, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then finish your thought.
My thought. I started to say they were determined to have a death, and they really wanted the protesters. They got them riled up. The police shot rubber bullets. They had a minimum of 24 infiltrators. FBI confidential sources. They got them. What they really wanted is they wanted to get them rioting, and they wanted some police to die. They wanted that. They would have loved it. I mean, they still tried to talk. They still try to say that 5 cops died, which is ridiculous.
Right. Not one did on the day.
None. The only person but they were determined to have a death. And so at a certain point, they started to get very worried. We need a death. So, we had to kill one of these rioters because the police were in danger. That's what happened. That is what happened.
That is what happened. Let's do a real quick analysis of that. They stole the 2020 election. Okay. They had to protect that theft at all costs. They were willing to have people die so that they could protect the court. They had to make the top guy, Trump, the top guy claiming they stole the election. They had to make him look bad, which is why I said earlier they had the pipe bomb outside the DNC, because if nothing happened, then they would at least be able to say, well, these MAGA extremists had a pipe bomb outside the DNC building and the vice president-elect was in there. To this day, she lies about being in there. But there's all kinds of proof that she was. but she lies about it. No, I was in the
DNC.
And
I would say
in the Capitol building.
I would say it a little bit differently in that not only were they willing to have people die, but they wanted people to die because they wanted that. They wanted that. They wanted that murder they could pin on.
Oh yeah,
MAGA.
on the.
They wanted murders that they could pin on MAGA, and.
But my whole point of this whole thing, Jade, is think of the disdain that they have for the American people, that they were willing to put the country through all of that for power. They stole the election, and then they went through all of that for power. What would they have done if Trump didn't have the Stop the Steal rally? What would they have done? We don't know yet. But
if Trump didn't have what?
The rally, the Stop the Steal rally. That's what the rally was.
Yeah.
What if he didn't call that? What would they have done?
Well, they would have found
sensationalized it so bad to say you can't even talk to us about we stole the election.
Yeah,
you
they
had
would have
January,
found,
and they've been pushing it. You still got morons that say that January 6th was the worst attack on the U.S. Capitol since the War of 1812. They forget that there were literal multiple times terrorists set bombs off in the Senate building in the 50s and 60s. They had a group of terrorists that went into the balcony of the House and shot down, hit a congressman, and killed a cop. The worst. J6 was the worst since 1812. Give me a break.
And when the lefties invaded the Senate room during Kavanaugh's confirmation, that doesn't count.
Right. Of course not.
And when they entered the building during the Dobbs trial, that doesn't count.
Of course not, bigot. I'm telling you, man, these people, they've lost their minds. And see, the problem is they still haven't figured out that nobody's buying anything they say anymore. Let me get down this now to get this out. On Friday, news broke that a settlement in principle was reached in the Ashley Babbitt wrongful death lawsuit brought against the U.S. government by the Babbitt family. Judicial Watch, who I love, Judicial Watch, Tom Fitton, brought forth this lawsuit and has represented the family for years. The Gateway Pundit has extensively covered this lawsuit since it was filed in January 2024. The lawsuit extensively details the history of incompetence and multiple revocations or revocations of firearm privileges for previous dangerous incidents involving Officer Michael Byrd. He's the murderer, the Capitol Police officer who murdered Babbitt in cold blood. This includes a failure to meet or complete semi-annual firearms qualifications requirements, DEI, leaving a loaded Glock 22, the same firearm he used to shoot and kill Ashley Babbitt, in a bathroom in the Capitol Visitor Center, a public room. It was a public bathroom. And a shooting into a moving vehicle stolen by teenagers where the off-duty cop reportedly struck homes nearby with his bullets. In other words, he didn't care where he was shooting. And they promoted him. Lieutenant Byrd had a reputation among peers for not being a good shot, the lawsuit alleges. As the third anniversary of January 6 approaches, Judicial Watch has filed a $30 million wrongful death suit against the federal government for the Capitol Police shooting of Air Force veteran Ashley Babbitt. That's how they treated an Air Force vet. The Washington Examiner reports that the suit was filed on behalf of Babbitt's estate and her husband, Aaron Babbitt, and claims the officer who shot Babbitt was incompetent and dangerous and should have recognized Babbitt posed no threat to Congress when she entered the House Speaker's lobby. Kyle Cheney from Politico posted the news on X this afternoon. We don't care what he has to say.
We don't care about that.
Julie Kelly's good. What's that?
We don't care about that.
Yeah. The radical leftist judge on the case, Anna Reyes, is screaming at both sides of the courtroom, insane. Do we have a video on that? No, unfortunately. Julie Kelly's awesome. She wrote the book January 6th via Julie Kelly. She writes, "Holy, I can't say the word, Batman." The judge is Anna Reyes, the crazy Biden appointee. She is screaming at both sides about who knew what about the proposed settlement. This relates to a former attorney on the case. DOJ, quote, "Our intention is to settle this case. Terms have been sent to Babbitt's." Another tirade. This is why federal court proceedings should be recorded and published online, just like appellate courts and SCOTUS. Ray's needs a rubber room. She is screaming at Babbitt lawyer over a temp restraining order now denied, filed by former lawyer on the case who is, we got to go here. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize there was a more. Screaming at the case who wants 25% of the settlement. Status report due Monday. That is just unbelievable. So I hope they get most of, not all, the money that they asked for.
I'd like to see that Lieutenant Byrd, who's not only a bad shot, but a bad cop.
I think he's off the force now. I think he's off. I think he had to leave because during COVID,
something about that.
During COVID, he was the most vocal about wearing masks and all that. He was the most vocal about doing all kinds I'm sorry, it wasn't about wearing masks. It was about coming into work. He thought that he should be paid but not have to come into work because the members of Congress didn't go into work. So he thought, well, what are we protecting? The building? People that are coming into work? Wasn't that your job, jackass?
Okay, when I get onto something on a lighter note, we can talk about the AMC theaters.
What about it?
Well, no, it's just that was just a bit of a heavy story. So.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
there's a
John
story.
Nolte, John Nolte wrote it. Yeah, I'll read it now. Huh?
You got a story there about AMC theaters. I thought we'd get into a bit lighter.
Yeah, John Nolte wrote it. I love everything Nolte writes. In fact, I bought his book. He makes fun of himself for the book, but it's really not a bad book. It says Nolte, AMC Theaters loses $202 million thanks to lousy movies. Last year, AMC Theaters lost $163.5 million during the same quarter. This year, that number climbed to $202.1 million loss. Thanks for nothing, Snow White. Gross revenues for the quarter ending this March fell 9% from $951.4 million last year to just $862.5 million this year. Quote, the box office results from January to March were the lowest they have been since 1996, admitted AMC chairman Adam Aron. But according to Aron, things are looking up for the rest of the fiscal year. Anyone trying to draw any conclusions about the success or appeal of movie theaters from the results of the first quarter of 2025 is likely to be mistaken, he said, because the industry-wide domestic box office in Q1 was, in our view, a distorting anomaly that has already corrected itself. His conclusion? We continue to believe that movie-going demand for the balance of 2025 and all of 2026 will show great strength. Per Variety, the second quarter of 2025 is already looking up thanks to hits such as Sinners, Minecraft, and last weekend's Thunderbolts. Let me see. Where does he begin? Okay. I do find it fascinating that Variety will admit in a report like this one what it never will when doing box office analysis. Whenever Variety or any trade publication that depends on the studios for advertising dollars, access, and scoops analyzes the box office, it's all about lame-ass excuses. Streaming is killing movie theaters. We're still dealing with the pandemic. American audiences are too racist, sexist, and homophobic to make this $400 million movie about an Eskimo lesbian superhero a box office hit. What Variety and company do not have the moral courage to do is admit to and address the one simple fact that is killing movie theaters. Most movies suck the big one today. I love how he writes. The movies are unappealing. The actors are unappealing. The whole industry is unappealing. But look at how this Variety report on AMC's quarterly figures says exactly that without saying it. Why was AMC's 2024 quarter superior to this quarter? Variety admits sequels to popular franchises like Dune and Kung Fu Panda were released during that period. Why is this next quarter already an improvement over the previous quarter? Well, per Variety, that's thanks to hits such as Sinners, Minecraft, and last weekend's Thunderbolts. Wait, what? Right. How is it possible that a racist country is making a hit? See, he brings it all together. Is making a hit from a black-led Sinners and a sexist country making a hit from the female-led Thunderbolts. And if streaming and pandemic are the problem, What changed about streaming and the pandemic to increase or decrease those quarterly revenues? I'm so confused. Not really. Yeah, he's exactly right. He's exactly right. They make things up and they make excuses for everyone. Hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Let me see. AMC used to mean
Okay, we got time for another one or two.
Yeah.
Killing democracy to save democracy. What's
Yeah,
that one about?
It's a good one. Let's see. It is Town Hall. It's Kurt Schlichter. Is the whole thing there? Yes, it's still there. Good. Because his are always a paywall. Not his doing. Although I'm sure he's happy. So, killing democracy to save democracy. Britain started arresting people for tweeting unapproved things. And you know what? When I was talking to 42, they were telling me that. They were like, yeah, they had a mate that the cops went to his house and said, you posted something on Twitter, X, Y, and Z. And he said, I didn't even post it. I reposted. I quoted it. They're like, yeah, come with us. And I think he got time. That's just nuts. That's just why JD went over there and told Europe and Germany, but told Europe, you guys don't share the same things we do, like free speech, So what happened in Germany was not a surprise. After all, Germans are the best at fascism. There, the establishment parties used the internal security apparatus to formally designate the AfD, which is an upstart populist party with a plurality of voter support, particularly by the young and the Eastern Germans who know communism, don't like it. An extremist organization. Of course they did, because this is what they do. This basically means it's open season for the heirs to the Gestapo and Stasi. Banning it completely is the next step. Already, AfD supporters are being fired from civil service jobs. This is how it goes. I guess with Germans, the only thing that changes is the uniform. Actually, that goes for all Europeans. They paid lip service to the idea of normal people having a say in their own governance, but never believed in it. It was all a lie and a scam, but the mask is coming off. The ruling class is offering Europeans the choice between capitulation and rebellion. It's exactly true. Now, let's not get too uppity here in America, because our own garbage establishment would love to do the same thing. Its obstacles are that it's so dumb and that Americans are not yet a nation of low-T femboys. We also pack heat. Second Amendment. Our ruling class tried to frame Donald Trump after trying to bankrupt him. And when that didn't work out, one establishment-friendly guy tried to murder him. The other guy who tried to murder him might be establishment friendly, but we don't know anything about him for some reason. Right, because he was hired to do it. The point is, we have a boomer generation ruling class that is desperately seeking to cling to power and is willing to do anything to keep it. Anything. This is a matter of life and death, and they're willing to take lives and deal death to keep their power. Same thing we just talked about with J6 on January 6th. As they keep losing, which they will, none of this is happening because they are intrinsically strong or competent. They will go further and further. More oppression, more tyranny, more bloodshed. It's all worth it to them. Their power is all that matters. He's right. This isn't going to work out well. History teaches us what happens when you suppress the voice of people expressing legitimate grievances. And boy, are people's grievances ever legitimate. I always talk about it as the beach ball theory. Remember? You have a beach ball and you try to hold it underwater, right? What happens? You get pressure that's pushing it up, so you constantly have to push it down. The government is what's pushing the people, the beach ball, down underwater. But eventually, see, the beach ball never gives up. It doesn't have to worry about using its force. It never gives up trying to come above the water, right? But when you're pushing it down, eventually you get tired and you have to let go. And that's what happens when people wake the hell up. So economic... What's that?
My analogy is trying to grab a handful of sand.
Yeah.
The harder you squeeze it, the more oozes out drifts out from between your fingers.
I personally like my beach ball thing better.
Well, you can have your beach ball.
Thank you. Which, by the way, can smack down sand. Just saying. All right, economic dislocation, anarcho-tyranny, a sanctioned invasion by third world barbarians who rob, rape, and murder our citizens. Joe Biden. Normal people have legit gripes, and they will be heard. It's just a matter of what sound they make, voices or explosions. Exactly. Now, of course, this phenomenon isn't just limited to these countries. We've seen similar antics in Brazil, Israel, Romania, and elsewhere. The entrenched establishment parties have no answer to the critiques of their gross incompetence, corruption, and arrogance, yet they are determined to hang on to power at all costs. Free speech and democratic norms, they don't matter. Why? The situation is so extreme, the peril so perilous that these concepts must give way. We must protect democracy by utterly destroying democracy. He's right. But of course, these people never actually, well, what did J6 do? Well, we have to keep these people in prison for years and not allow them to talk to their lawyers because we're trying to save democracy, don't you know? That was their freaking argument. But of course, these people never actually believed in free speech or democracy or any of that stuff. They only believed in their own power. He nails it. They dressed themselves in skin suits of the institutions they invaded, infested, and obliterated. We're supposed to respect them because they were once respectable. But the problem for the establishment, the insurmountable challenge it faces, is that we normal people are neither blind nor stupid. We can see what's happening, especially now that the regime media monopoly has been broken. Exactly. Of course, they tried to handle that too. Remember, misinformation? Oddly enough, the Venn diagram of misinformation and things the ruling class doesn't want people to say or hear is a single circle. It's exactly right. That's the best definition, using the words Venn diagram, right? Go back in time to 20 years ago and try to imagine somebody explaining to you that the government set up a specific organization to force media companies to suppress the points of view of the opposition. Yeah, it was called Mockingbird. Sure, the regime media has all, it's still Mockingbird, has all, well, it's been around since what, the 1930s or something like that. Sure, the regime media has always been left, but the idea of the U.S. government running an unapologetic censorship operation would have been insane. They would have summoned big dudes with butterfly nets to haul away anyone predicting that. And yet, it was true. It happened. Our government did that, and other Western governments are even more open about it. The Germans are actively proud of their speech suppression, proving once and for all that Morgenthau was right. I hope I didn't murder that name. This can't continue forever. It's not going to continue forever. This status quo is unsustainable. Our elite has failed. Yeah, they're the people that told us, you better listen to us because we're the smartest guys in the room and we know better. And then they screwed us for 40 years. The ruling class is trash and everybody knows it. However, alone among the countries around the globe, it's only America seems to be able to beat the largely boomer-driven reactionary response. Canada famously just reelected the same people who destroyed their country over the last 10 years. That was Trump's fault, of course. Canadians apparently have no agency. The Australians did something similar. France and Germany both had an establishment coalition made up of parties that should be at each other's throats, instead united to stop the populace from being hurt. Exactly. Le Pen is headed to jail, and AfD is likely to be banned. In Romania, the EU regime just canceled the election. It's true. And again, this is all going to be cheered on by regime media lackeys as necessary for the protection of democracy. Democracy meaning their perpetual stranglehold on power. So how is this going to play out? Well, the boomers of the West are either going to give up power like a normal generation would, or they are going to have power stripped from them. I remember years ago, I was in college, and they said, well, the baby boomers are the first ones that did not want to hand it over, the reins over to because usually the older guys, they say to the younger guys, look, you're going to be the captains of industry. You're going to rule the world. Okay, we're going to retire quietly. The boomers never left. They didn't want to give up power for whatever reason. I'm a boomer. I'm the last year of the boomers. All right. And they never wanted to give up power. And he's right.
I think you're too young to be a boomer.
What's that?
I think you're too young to be a boomer.
64. I was born in 64. That's the last year of the boomers.
I think that's a little too late. I think that's too late.
What's not going to happen is that normal people around the world are going to shrug their shoulders and submit to serfdom. That ain't going to happen. The right thing to, and they think we're a pain in the ass because we say, hey, look, we all live by this thing called the Constitution, and we want you in government to live by it too. What? I'm under arrest. The right thing to do would be self-sacrifice and voluntary retirement. But of course, when have you ever seen the boomers do anything that benefited anybody but the boomers? Exactly. You ever notice that now, in the last like 20 years, you go to your gas pump and there's real big numbers? You know why? Because the boomers couldn't read those little numbers anymore. They got old. So I'm saying everything in their lives, they made it better for themselves. They are the most selfish people, the most selfish generation ever.
And I checked, and I have to admit that you're right. So I think that they might have
note the time and the date.
Yeah, 64 is what they're now calling
the moment
the last.
Serves, we will issue a coin.
Yeah, they're calling 64 the last year.
Yeah, the last year of the boomers. Yeah, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't know it. All right.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that. I didn't think it was that late because
you're in a large camp. No, you're in a large camp. A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, and there were some people that tried to say, well, no, it was 65, the 64. No, it was 64. It was always 64.
I mean, I thought I was barely in the boomers, but anyway.
I just still can't believe I'm 61 years old. Anyway, well, it's theoretically possible that we avoid chaos and convulsion, but every day it looks less and less likely that we will be able to. We're facing greedy, stupid, and narcissistic people whose poor judgment has brought us to this place and whose poor judgment will tip us over the edge. The big question is where the conflagration ignites. Is it going to start in Europe? Maybe the Great Revolt begins in some third world country. Trump already represents the revolt in the United States. If he fails, the guy who comes next won't be so nice. But the backlash is going to start somewhere. What we can't go on won't go. What can't go on won't go on. And so this will not go on. I like that. That was a very good article because he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. The Normans. There you go. Norm. Yeah, let me see. That's correct. 64 is the last of the baby boomer year. Yeah. Let me see. I got another one. Oh, we got 3 minutes. We can do one more.
We can do one more quickly. Pick a short one.
John Thune, killing judges, break federal law, should be prosecuted. Yeah. We did that. Reverse his course. Says GOP should probably not. No, I'm not going to do that. Trump floats cutting China tire. Yeah, he says MTG. Here we go.
How about
I got the MTG one.
Oh, MTG. She's always good.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing her.
I was going to say, what about the Gavin Newsom article? I think that would be even better.
Which one? Let me see.
Third from the bottom.
Gavin Newsom.
Third or fourth from the bottom there.
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh,
the
most Californians. Yeah, most Californians. Yeah, we could do that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
So it's most and Bobbity, you can attest to it. Most Californians think new scums. Speaking of that, did you hear Trump the other day when he talked about either one of the deals he's making or something? And he was sitting there with a bunch of people around and they were talking. It was on the news. And he said, apparently Gavin Newsom, he literally said Gavin Newsom out there in California was saying that he didn't want to, yada, yada, yada. He's making a deal. He goes, do you know who that is? Gavin Newsom? You've heard of him? Newsom? I was like, oh my God, he's actually calling him Newsom. Wow.
And that wasn't a slip then. He said it several times.
Yeah. All right. So most Californians think Newsom's priority is running for president, not governing. A new poll from UC Berkeley has found California voters overwhelmingly believe Governor Gavin Newsom, see, it's catchy, is more focused on doing things that help his presidential candidacy than actually governing, a ratio of 2 to 1. Quote, by a greater
then 2-to-1 margin, 54 to 26%. Most voters believe that as Newsom serves out his final 2 years as governor, he is devoting more of his attention to things that might benefit himself as a possible candidate for president than governing the state and helping to solve its problems. I have an answer to all of that. He is a Democrat. 83% of Republicans, 52% of independents, and 40% of Democrats agreed that Newsom was prioritizing his presidential run, while just 6% of Republicans, 22 and 41, felt Newsom is focused on governing the state and helping to solve its problems. He's helping to exacerbate and create its problems. Okay, that's all we need to know. I want to do the Marjorie. Did I bring it up already? Yeah, I did. I could just bring it in. Yeah, I don't think that's big news, you know. He's being selfish. Marjorie Taylor Greene owns Democrats throwing a fit over renaming the Gulf of America. You got to love it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, infamous MTG, put Democrats in their place after the left threw a collective fit over the U.S. House formally passing a bill. They did pass it to codify President Donald Trump's Gulf of America executive order. The House passed Greene's measure in a 211 to 206 vote on Thursday as she directed her staff to begin the legislative process of changing the name after Trump made the big announcement on the name change, going from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Don Beacon.
Yeah, I told you. You asked me at the beginning of the stream. That's what I had heard, that it had passed.
Yeah. How about that? It passed. Representative Don Bacon was the only Republican to side with Democrats. On Thursday, we should primary him. On Thursday, Greene addressed Democrats collectively melting down over the name. Here it is. Good. Let me see. What is this? Democrats throwing a fit. Here we go. This is going to be awesome. Okay. So
important for the American people to hear this debate back and forth between what Democrats have to say and what Republicans have to say. The American people rose up in a historic election in November of 2024, and they told Washington, D.C., they have had enough of the Democrat embrace and love affair of the cartels in Mexico. But Democrats today are fighting to keep the Gulf of America named the Gulf of Mexico because the cartels are their business partners. They fight for the cartels so much that they call an MS-13 gang member that had 2 deportation orders that was deported to El Salvador, the country of his citizenship. They call him a Maryland man, and they fight for him so hard that they sent senators and House members went down to fight for him, not for the American people. The drug crisis in America is the fault of the open border policies and the love affair between Democrats and cartels. Drug trafficking across the Gulf of America is a serious issue. The Gulf serves as a maritime corridor of trafficking operations with drugs like cocaine, marijuana, fentanyl, a poison that murders Americans, methamphetamine, and heroin being transported via fishing boats, private vessels, and commercial maritime routes. It's our great United States Coast Guard that defends the waters of the Gulf of America. Since January 20th, 2025, the U.S. Coast Guard has seized 101,415 pounds of cocaine, 10,743 pounds of marijuana in operations targeting maritime drug trafficking, including in the Gulf of America. On April 30th, 2025, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Tampa offloaded pounds of cocaine and marijuana worth an estimated $12.3 million at Port Everglades, Florida.
I mean, guys, are you listening to her? She's making sense, right? The left says she's nuts.
Seized during operations in the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of America. It's the cartels that use the Gulf of America to invade our country with drugs, human trafficking, and child sex trafficking. It's our great Coast Guard and our Navy that defend the land, our people's land, our states, our businesses, and our country from the cartels.
Yep.
You would think this would be the easiest vote that the United States House of Representatives could take. Because after all, everybody in here swore an oath to defend our Constitution and to defend our laws and our land. Oh, but no, the Democrats can't do it because we had 4 years of Democrat control where our borders were wide open, and the American people are fed up with it. Yep. The American people are tired of being torn down and served by America Last policies and politicians that absolutely hate the American people and love the cartels. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let me tell you something. I agree with her that they hate the American people.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, many Republicans hate our guts as well. They hate us.
All of the rhinos, but
they hate us.
I think a lot of us missed this on the first pass. But one of the big things about
thank you, sir,
renaming it the Gulf of America is because all the restrictions on drilling were for the Gulf of Mexico.
Right. And technically now they're not drilling on the Gulf of Mexico. They're drilling.
Technically,
in the
he's
Gulf
not
of
drilling
America.
in the Gulf of Mexico now. He's
Right.
drilling in the Gulf of America. I didn't even think
brilliant.
of it. I thought it was. I didn't even think of it.
Yeah,
and
it was brilliant.
I thought, why is he wasting time doing that? That's it's a silly thing.
There's similar things. There's similar cool things, reasons for Greenland too, and Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, she's right. Gina says the Congress is making money on the drugs. PA want
they must be.
Yeah, PA want to legalize. High and happy to keep voting the donkey asses into office. That's exactly correct.
Well, people may think ill of me for saying this, but you know what?
What?
I think we should get rid of all drug laws. You want whatever you want to do to your body is up to you.
And I agree with that, the libertarian view. However, what always happens when you legalize any drug is you get more people to do that drug, and then later on they violate my money because they go, you got to help me. The government didn't protect me. I need rehab. You got to pay for it.
A big one of these. Okay, a big one of these.
That's what they do.
No. You do what you want for your body, but you don't get shit from me. Excuse my words.
And now, how about the people that normally wouldn't do drugs, but because it's now pervasive and everybody's allowed to do it. Hold on, let me finish. They're allowed to do whatever they want. Now they're killing people because they're stoned.
Well,
I'm not saying the war on drugs is a good thing. I think they should end it because it was never really about ending drugs.
Listen, prohibition has never worked.
Get rid of drug laws, though. I think drug laws shouldn't be federal. I think they should be state, because there's nothing in Article 1, Section 8, the enumerated powers, that says that the federal government has the right to do drug laws.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that would be the first one. Federal, forget it. Unless there's some sort of import thing that could be federal. But here's the thing. You can use whatever you want. Now, if you try and sell it to school kids, you go get put in a dark hole and never see the light of day again. People stupid enough to use that shit. I would say the majority of them are voting Democrats. So you want to do that and kill yourself? Hey, honey, that's only going to make.
That's why I have a problem, because yes, I do believe it's your body. You have the right to do it, but it always invades somebody else's rights. Always.
That's the problem.
It always gets into somebody else's, right?
And even if it's just somebody,
special. I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
No, so even if it's just somebody breaking into a house to support their habit, it affects other people. That I agree. That's the problem.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about is, it's going to be a crime no matter what. But what I'm talking about is a lot of people that do drugs, not everyone, but a lot of people that do drugs, drug addicts, they affect society, not just themselves. Yeah. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you, Jeremiah. But my point is that there's a lot of people out there that would not do drugs, like a lot of people wouldn't drink, right? And be impaired like that. And there's a lot of drugs out there, not pot, but there's a lot of drugs out there that impair you. Okay, so if you're driving or or you get into a fight with somebody because you normally wouldn't, but now you got, I don't know, meth balls or something. I don't know, what you would call it, but it just always causes havoc on society, right?
Okay, I'm probably going to call closer on the argument because we agree that it's a much more complicated and multifaceted problem.
Oh yeah.
We can agree. We could talk for the next 6 hours and not come up with a solution.
Right.
But anyway, and
hey guys, if you haven't already, hit that like button, please.
Yeah, please hit the like button. And it looks like there's a couple of people who may not have. And yeah, my alarm's going off, so it's about that time, Rich.
I still haven't built that alarm thing.
You gotta do that. Don't tell anybody about it. We'll leave it as
done it because it's hard. Although now I've been using Sora, and I'm creating a new intro because the other one's getting old. So I'm creating a new intro.
All right.
And it's country, but it's pretty good. It's very pro America, very pro Trump, and I'm using Sora to make it. Sora is the video AI that comes with ChatGPT if you have a subscription. I'm using that to make all these smaller videos to build up through the video, and it should be ready by next week. So.
And Special K, morphine is a Schedule II drug, which is where all legal control. Well, they're all controlled legal drugs.
You too, Jeremiah. Thank you.
Such as like
she said, "Where's my funny video?" She didn't get
all
a funny one.
All the narcotics, including fentanyl, which is actually used extensively in hospitals. But class 1 is drugs with no medical purpose whatsoever. They actually had marijuana in there. They moved it out of that class. Cocaine is in there. Class 2 is your strong narcotics that are legal. Anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Guys, we're going to call it a night. 3 hours, 11 minutes. Thank you all for being here. Love you guys. You know that. You already know that. I appreciate you guys being here every single Friday because I know that you could be anywhere else. My dog is now crying out loud. Stop it. I'm done in a minute. Give me a minute, boy. What a pain sometimes.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We are out of here. Have a great weekend. Watch my videos during the week, please, and bring a friend next time.
Come next week and bring a friend.
Tell
somebody about it.
We'll give out $3.
Free beer.
No, $3. And then you go, "Where's my dollar?" I go, "No, I said doll hairs. Free doll hairs.
Yeah, there you
Give
go.
me your address and I'll mail doll hairs to you."
Yeah, right. Rich is going to give out free beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for being here, Streaky. I really appreciate it, man. Linda, you're awesome. Thank you very much. Sheila, thank you very much, girl, for being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all. All right, have a good one. We're out of here, and that's it.